Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at netsn.live.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's bEast from the East. It's week 4. I'm Mr. NETSN, Brett Swinney. Alongside me tonight, the usual crew. We got Jeremy Diamond, Jaron Peoples, and Mr. Red Zone OT, KO Kyle Owens. How's it going, fellas?
Great.
It's good. Good day of football. Aggies won. Cowboys won. You know, both in dramatic fashion. But it was good.
Yeah, a couple days ago. It's been a few days ago. You still?
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, a couple days ago.
So, I wouldn't call the Aggies winning a celebration. I'd call it more of a future disappointment.
It's a heck of a game, though.
Future disappointment for you later in the line. So it's okay.
Says the guy who's
had the game
Longhorns just squeak by the Miners.
You know, just beat who's on your schedule, and then the team you didn't play well against is probably the best team in the nation. So,
hey, I'm a UTEP fan. Do you know that? Because I'm a big Scotty Walden fan, who is the head coach. You know, he was at ETBU, and so.
Sorry about that.
I don't think Arch is the guy, Brett. I'm just gonna say
it. I don't know. Well, here's the thing. It's Texas, man. We'll get whoever we need to get. I mean, that's the deal. I mean, you know,
pockets are deep over there in Austin.
It is, and I like it. Man, we're already through 3 weeks of high school football season, though, fellas, and it's like a third, not quite a third of the way through, but man, it's rolling through. We had 9 more games on NETSN this past week, and we had some lopsided games. We also had some really good ones this week, and I'm excited to talk about some of those. But man, the Pick'em Challenge, guys, have y'all checked that out yet? How y'all are standing right now? Have you looked?
Yeah.
There's one of us on here that we might not be able to find on there. I don't know. You might be in trouble. We won't.
What's that saying that Dory says? Just keep scrolling. I think that's what she says.
Yeah. I'm way down at the bottom.
Well,
because he's spending so much time, devoting to all of them that he forgets it's tough.
Yeah, he's got so many. Kyle's got so many teams he's covering. I get it. It's hard to pick.
I should be better at this. It
just shows how it's not always how much you know. It's just sometimes making a lucky pick here or there, KO. It's just,
It was a rough couple of weeks. I had a great first week, but these last couple of weeks have really brought me down a couple.
That's what happens is you say you're really confident after week one. And
false confidence, it appears. Hey, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about the good guys.
Well, here we go. I was going to say this week we had our first undefeated pick 'em this week, and it's one of our own. Chad Grubbs, one of our broadcasters, 10 out of 10 this week. Hey, and that was tough. There was a couple of upsets in there that he was able to snag. So that's pretty solid. We had 9 guys at 9 below. So I don't think any of us were in that group. I was right there at 8. I had 8. So I think Jaron had 8 as well, and so did Coach Hubbard and Jeremy. Y'all had 8, I think. And the funny thing is, I think we may all have one miss in common, but I think some of the other ones we kind of were different on, that we just kind of missed that second one. So, but something I didn't talk about last week, we want to go check out the overall standings, because I forgot to the end of the show last week to do that. And now that's vaulted. We have a 3-way tie at the top now. Chad Grubbs has now jumped into the tie along with Lewis Ray and Tony Riley now at a tie. He had a little bit of a lead, and I think it was. Did he send you his picks yet, Jeremy? I know you requested those. Did you get?
Yeah, I didn't get him. I don't. I haven't gotten any yet. I'm still waiting on that email. So maybe got thrown in my spam folder. That's
okay. Okay.
Lost in the mail somewhere.
Yeah.
But I did okay. 8's not bad. I probably picked my heart on one of them, and it cost me. That's okay. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think I missed probably the same 2 you did, actually. I'm thinking about it. So that one was I don't know if it wasn't a heart pick for me. It was just I thought that math didn't jive right. I don't know what happened there. So but let's go look at the results for this week. Game 1 was the game that Jeremy and I were at, and I had Gladewater, and so did everybody. 8 people picked West Rusk, and they were able to squeak away with a 15-14 win. Gladewater, Coach Lewis, taking their first loss, but it was a game where Gladewater had numerous chances to get the win. West Rusk took advantage, played solid defense when they needed to, made the plays when they needed to, and it worked out in their favor. But, Coach Lewis is going to be able to go back and look at this game on film, I believe, and say, hey, we had a chance here, we had a chance here, we had a chance here. But shout out to Coach Mata and his crew. That's a big win for them, and I get to see them again this coming week. And so, Jeremy, what's your takeaway on this? You were there with me this one.
Yeah, I think the big thing was turnovers in the red zone, right? They had 2 fumbles in the red zone, and then right before half, the quarterback mistakenly took a knee instead of spiking the ball, and in so doing knelt the clock out instead of stopping the clock. And so really Gladewater effectively had 3 turnovers within the 10-yard line, and that was really the difference in the game. You get one of those back and you probably score, and it's a different game than a huge block extra point by West Rusk, and could have been 2 more points for them if not for a chase down by Aubrey Floyd. But really just 2 hard-nosed teams. Like, both defenses didn't really give. It was just, like I said, those couple of missed opportunities by Gladewater's offense was really the difference.
Kyle, how surprised were you on this one?
This one took me a little bit by surprise. I was drinking the Gladewater Kool-Aid after a couple of weeks, and was really high on them. So I think it's a disappointing loss for Gladewater, especially hearing, essentially 3 turnovers in the red zone, just leaving points out on the field. I know Coach Lou's not going to be happy about that. What he will be happy about is his son, Colin, got a pick for UNT this week, Go Men Green. Got his first collegiate pick this weekend, so big time for him. But Coach Lou's going to, like you said, look at the film and fix some things there and capitalize on those opportunities. I think Gladewater's still got a really good football team. Just left some points out on the field. Shout out to West Rusk, though, for capitalizing on that, right? Like they could have they could have folded and let Gladewater score those times, but they bowed up defensively and were able to make some stops and make some plays to win the ball game. And they got a big win, and a big win for Coach Mata and them. So I'm interested to see how they can build on that going forward.
Sharon, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I was drinking that Gladewater Kool-Aid too, like KO said, and I knew Coach Mata. He's in his third year as a head coach, I think, right? And so, I knew they built some good momentum. I just thought Gladewater was on a roll, right? And so, and again, sounds like some of it was self-inflicted, but still credit to Wes Rusk for playing a good game and capitalizing on the opportunities, and really looking at their schedule. And I know we'll talk about their matchup this week and a little bit later, but especially after this week, there's a few weeks where they could stack up some more wins in the early part of the district. And when they go into troop in a few weeks, be kind of, looking pretty nice. So.
Yeah. I was impressed by up front. They didn't allow Gladewater to run the ball as efficiently as they did against New Diana the week before we saw them. And I thought Wes Rusk did a great job in their front seven to really force Gladewater into some, even early, they forced them into some third and longs or third and uncomfortables. And they sustained a couple, like Gladewater was able to pick those up, but it forced them a lot. They were having to do a lot of work. They weren't making it easy. And so by the time they got down to the red zone, it felt like, and Jeremy may agree with me, it felt like it took them an hour to get down to the red zone just because of Wes Rusk was making them use first down, second down, third down. There wasn't any of this picking it up in chunks there at the first, and they really, really slowed Gladewater and really forced Gladewater to really do some different things than we saw them do against New Diana. So I think that was interesting. I think Coach Mata had prepared, and his game plan was really impressive that he had against Gladewater. And so I'm excited to see kind of where Wes Rusk falls. Now, you look at the wins now, and Gladewater really takes care of New Diana, which we kind of thought maybe New Diana was the third team. Well, maybe we counted out Wes Rusk there. I think maybe Wes Rusk is that third team that's going to try to get in the mix with ARP and Troop and that big whole rivalry between those schools that are separated with it and not very far of a distance, probably 15 miles between the three schools total. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of as they continue to progress this season, how they do. But shout out to Coach Mata. I was very impressed with Wes Rusk. I think it was more of what Wes Rusk showed me. Gladewater can clean the things that I saw up. They're definitely clean up things they can do. Wes Rusk just came out and really, really was impressive.
Well, we talked about it too. Like halftime, the stats were Gladewater had 195 yards of offense, and Wes Rusk had 30, but the score was only 8-0. Right. So we kind of talked about it the week before. It was kind of the opposite. Like New Diana had all the yards and they weren't up. And so it was that weird thing where it just felt like kind of the flip of the week before where, you look at it and go, if you just looked at stats, you'd assume it was 21-0, and yet it was 8-0. And thanks to, Wes Rusk just really bowing up at the inside the 20 and keeping it from happening. So we were shocked, just again at the ending, especially, but even at the first half, looking at stats going, how is Wes Rusk even in this,
All right. Another great game on Thursday night as Carlile gets the win over St. Augustine in a one that came down to the last play of the game, 27-22. Keith was over there in that call, and it wouldn't be a Keith call if something didn't happen. And again, the lights went out during the game. Thankfully, they were able to get it back on and finish. But Kale, you're shaking your head there. Your dad was over there as well again, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was there too for the first half.
Oh, that's right. You were there. Yeah, tell us about that one, Kyle, since you were there.
Well, before the game, it was funny because Keith was talking about how he's had the worst luck during his broadcast. Something always happens, from a lightning delay, power going out, whatever. I think Friday he had a clean broadcast though. I think he's off the schneid now. But yeah, Pops texted me as I was back at the station cutting up the highlights. He texted me, he said, "Dude, the power just went out." I said, "You have got to be kidding me. Like, there's no possible way." But as far as the game is concerned, man, it was mistake filled in the first half for St. Augustine. 5 turnovers, 5 fumbles by St. Augustine in the first half. Just, and Kyle, like you were talking about, Jeremy, with having all those yards, you would think they'd be up by a lot. with having 5 turnovers, you think this game's going to be a blowout. Like it shouldn't even be close. So kudos to St. Augustine for bowing up defensively and not letting all those turnovers result in points. Some of them did, but not all of them. But Carlile did a really good job. They had a really good team. I got both these games wrong, by the way. I picked Gladewater, and then I picked St. Augustine in this one. The reason I picked St. Augustine, I thought they were just more athletic. I thought they had more athletes than Carlile did. They still might, but Carlile played a better football game Friday night, and they looked really good in spurts. And my concern would be, again, you get 5 turnovers and you end up being in a 5-point game with the team. That's not ideal. So I know Coach Baker's going to want to capitalize on those turnovers a little more and put some more points on the board. But overall, it was a really competitive game, physical game. They were hitting out there Thursday night. So I was impressed with both teams. I think St. Augustine showed me a lot by turning the football over as much as they did and continuing to – it would have been real easy to fold. We can't hold on to the football tonight, just call it quits. But they didn't. They continued to battle until the very last play. So impressed with both teams. Big win for Coach Baker and Carlile, though.
Jaron, what do you think? You saw Carlile last week.
Yeah, so I had Carlile in this game, and when I saw them a couple of weeks ago, I was really impressed with their defensive front. Well, defensively all across the board, but particularly their defensive front. And it sounds like, again, I didn't see that game. I hadn't gone back and watched all of it yet, but it sounds like that defensive front's what forced a lot of those turnovers, against St. Augustine. So, man, that's something to really look at, particularly in this week's matchup, and we'll talk about it later. But, that's something that I've been real impressed with Carlisle is their defense, and it's particularly on the front. And so that can bode well for you, especially in 2A ball.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I think, you and we were tuning in to watch that one as we were broadcasting, and we were kind of like, oh, okay, they've got and they've got a lead, and then it kind of got close, and we're like, are they going to be able to hang on? And so, I think hats off to both teams, right? Because, you've seen where momentum swings to another side for a while. It's really tough to get it back. And so you could see St. Augustine kind of creeping that score closer and closer, and it's easy when you had a loss already, get nervous and go, oh man, like, is it happening again? Like, are we going to, and so I think hats off to both teams, St. Augustine for staying in it with the 5 turnovers and keeping their head in it. And then again, for Carlile to close, right? It's not always what the finish looks like. You get the finish and you get the win. That's what counts. And you'd love for it to be easy and pretty, but most of the time it's not. So.
All right. Game 3, another pack of Indians there with an impressive win is Frankston, 48-19 of a really good Grapeland team. We thought, Frankston's one of those teams that continues to impress me, and I'm looking forward to. I think later in the season, Frankston and Carlile. I think that's going to be a really interesting game as they're in district play together. But Frankston's a team that's continuing to creep up on my polls, and I had them in this one over Grapeland in an impressive fashion. Jaron, what do you think about this one? Is Frankston? You got to see Frankston a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so I saw them against Huntington, and I was super impressed. But when you're playing, a team that's struggling like Huntington has, for a while, you're like, okay, like it's hard to tell a lot about that team that wins, right? And so they had a lot of different guys carrying the ball. I think at least 6 guys touched the ball, in which was, cool to see. But just still was kind of waiting and see with Frankston. Man, I'm on that train now. Coach Gold, what he's doing with those guys, and it really is incredible. And I picked Grapeland in this just because ever since seeing Grapeland last season and Malik Johnson, I think that's his name, right? Kyle, Malik Johnson, the running back for Grapeland, and he's just super impressive. So I've just really been high on this Grapeland team. And I think Coach Wood's doing a good job down there. But so it speaks a lot for the Frankston Indians to get a big win and right at the right time. And I think they're gonna have probably one of the better seasons they've had. And they've had good seasons the last few seasons. This might be the year that they go a couple rounds in.
Kyle, what do you think about Frankston in this one?
I haven't been high enough on them, apparently, because I thought this Grapeland team was a really good football team, and Frankston just made light work of them like it was nothing. Now, I did hear that Grapeland's starting quarterback, Sean Johnson, I think maybe his last name, I believe he got hurt early in that game. which could have contributed to kind of how the score looked. But either way, Frankston dominated that football game, and that is, I'm impressed with the Indians. Coach Gould has them rocking and rolling over there in Frankston right now. So thoroughly impressed with the Frankston Indians. They continue to rocket up my polls as well. I continue to think more highly of them now. I'm starting to take them a little more seriously. I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid down in Frankston now. So I think Grapeland's going to be fine. They obviously, if their quarterback's hurt, they need to figure that out and figure out how to move forward with that. But Coach Wood will do a good job. He'll have them ready to go. But very, very impressed with Frankston.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I picked Frankston to win, but I don't think it was – I never dreamed it would be in that dominant of a fashion, right? Like, I thought they would win. I thought it might be a close score. And, again, obviously, if a quarterback injury, that changes a lot of things no matter what your team is. It's really hard to do that in the middle of a game and have any kind of success. And so I'm sure that was a contributor. But this Frankston team looks to be the real deal and a serious threat moving forward. And so it'll be exciting to see what that looks like for them in district play too as they move into that in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, hats off to them, and hopefully that continues. I mean, they're just right down the road, so it feels like, you know, it'd be a fun one to go catch if you didn't have another game to go to, is sneak on down there and watch a team play some ball.
All right, game 4, we got Winona and Hawkins squeaks away with a 28-26 win. Kyle, you got some thoughts on that?
I called this last week. If you don't remember, when we were picking games, you can go back and watch the tape. Go to NETSN's YouTube channel. You can watch all the previous Beast from the East shows right there. Free plug. But if you go back to last week, I said Hawkins will win, but this is going to be a lot closer than people think. And a 2-point game is pretty dang close. So
can't get much closer than that, right? I mean,
can't get much closer than that. So, yeah, that I'm impressed with Hawkins for them to be 3-0 on this season. I think coach is doing a good job over there with them, and they got a big tough test against another 3-0 team coming up this week. But for Hawkins to figure out a way to win that game was great. I'm still impressed with Winona. Like, Winona has been really bad these last few seasons. Like, it has been a bad program. It is finally looking like it's starting to turn the corner and get back to being competitive. They were being blown out in every game. Quitman had the same thing for a few years when they lost like 30-something in a row. There's this kind of, when you get off the bus, you're already defeated because you're Quitman or whatever, which isn't the case now. But that's how Winona was for a little bit, like just defeated off the bus because it just wasn't competitive. Now they're winning games. They're being competitive in contests coming up close like this. So really impressed with Coach Cook and Winona and what he's doing over there with them. But big win for Hawkins, remain undefeated. That's the goal. They don't ask you how many you won by. They just ask you if you won. And Hawkins did, so congratulations to the Hawks.
Jaron? Yeah,
I mean, again, I hadn't seen Hawkins this season, but, you know, they kind of got off to a hot start last season too, right, where they went several weeks. And then, of course, once they got in the district, they're in that, you know, real tough big district. Well, they'll start district play, I think, this week, right? So, yeah. You know, so it'd be interesting to see how they navigate through that district. But yeah, I'm with Kyle, though. I mean, really just proud of Winona and just the strides that they've made. You know, I got to do that Winona Big Sandy game, you know, week 1. And I was just really impressed with them. I mean, and so, of course, they had a tough week, too. But to bounce back and play a good Hawkins team like this, it's a good sign.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I think, you know, Hawkins going 3-0. They were a team they're just off my radar when it comes to the polls. We're going to talk a little about in a little bit. I thought the game I thought it was going to be a bigger win. Again, a win's a win. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I was impressed with Winona be able to hang in there. And, the principal there at the school was a guy that I worked with at Hubbard back in the day, Coach Hageman, now Principal Hageman, is a great guy, and he's assembled a great staff over there. And so there's a lot of people that are doing the right thing over there. And I think some of that, you know, when you have good people in the classroom, right, and then you have good coaches on the field, I think those can often go hand in hand to help a program out because they're going to help those young men get better in the classroom and in life in general. And so I think, you know, hats off to them for turning around something that, you know, seemed a little bit bleak for a while there. And so hopefully that continues to give them something to kind of, you know, hang your hat on and build on and keep going for them. And so, again, you know, good job Hawkins on that win, and we'll see what they do this week as they bump into the district play.
Yeah, I worked with him at Chapel Hill. He was assistant principal at Chapel Hill before he went to Winona. Eggman was so.
New superintendent at Winona too, Justin Cowart. I grew up with him. He went to church he obviously he's a few years older than me, but went to church with him growing up. Great guy, and I think that's to your point, Jeremy. I think they're getting good quality people in these good positions to help lead that district and that community and really get it turned around. So I'm very excited for what the future has in store for Winona. I know it's not great now. I mean, a 1-2 record. People are going to look at that and be like, well, they're 1-2. What are you talking about? But it's different. It just looks different in Winona. So I'm happy for them. Hope they're going to do well.
Well, it starts in the classroom too, guys. And you guys know it. I mean, if you got kids that aren't behaving in class and then the coaches have to try to handle it and they don't listen and you have those mistakes like we talked about, like the penalties and the little things that you can clean up, that stuff. You handle that in the classroom, and then the coaches don't have as much of an issue to handle on the field. And so I think your guys are on the right track there. You get the right group. It's not just the coaches; these teachers do a lot of this work because they have them during the day as well. They're not just in athletics all day long. So shout out to Winona. I think they're trending up, but they're in that tough district. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see kind of what the gap is. If it looks different when they get to start playing these teams like the Troop and the ARP and some of those, can they come in and play some mistake-free football? They've got the athletes to play with those guys, but can they, if they don't make mistakes, what's the difference there in the teams? And that'll be interesting to see as we move forward. And so I'm excited to see what Winona's going to do. All right, next one, Game 5. The ARP Tigers are on a roll. My goodness, made another statement this week. ARP just, I picked ARP to win this game this week, guys, and I'm not gonna lie, but I saw the score. I think it was like 8-0 early. I was like, oh no, is taking a step up? Is that gonna? And ARP said, not so fast. They ended up winning 35-8, guys, and an impressive win over a good Mineola team. And so. ARP is just continuing to knock down people that are in front of them and continuing to impress me. Unfortunately, in my poll, and we'll get to it later, but there's not a whole lot of movement in the top area right now, just because it's kind of like you've got about 4 or 5 teams in mind that have kind of established themselves, and until somebody takes an L, there's not much movement there. But ARP is continuing to impress. KO, what do you think? You saw ARP 2 weeks ago. I mean, are you surprised by the margin that they were able to put on Mineola?
Not really. I mean, ARP's a good football team. Mineola is trying to build back to their greatness that they were at. I mean, I don't think Mineola is at ARP's level right now, but I'm looking at the stats. Shout out to Coach Reddick. Coach Reddick sends out the stats every Friday night after the game. Ty Langley played quarterback mostly, not Zane Bork. So that's a little interesting switch up. Ty Langley had 117 yards passing and a touchdown through the air, but Kason Burgess did it on the ground. 3 touchdowns rushing, 72 yards. Zane Bork actually led the receivers, 4 catches, 84 yards. So he was back out at receiver. And then defensively, that's what I wanted to look at because, they had 8 turnovers in 2 games. So turnover machine. This may be a reason why it was close. Just 1 turnover, a forced fumble and a recovered fumble. So that's good. They still turn the ball over, but didn't have no pick sixes this week. So a little different look for ARP, but they still found a way to win the football game. And I think that's the mark of a good football team. They're not turnover dependent, where if they don't get a bunch of turnovers, they can't score points. They obviously showed they could put up some points and defensively they still played really well. Held them to 8 points, 6 points, something like that. So
8 points.
8 points. So yeah, still played really well defensively. ARP's still a really good football team. And as we keep talking about, it looks like it's coming down that 7-mile rivalry for a district championship coming down the road.
Jaron, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, that's why I keep thinking about KOs in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks. That's will be a dog fight. I
think it might be a tiger fight.
Tiger fight, whatever. Yeah, but that's going to be an intense game. That it's a rivalry game already. But it will be more than likely for first place in that district, right? And so, so that's going to be exciting. But I had ARP in this one. When Jeremy and I are kind of keeping an eye on the scores when we were commentating, and I was like, okay, that's a little closer that first half, but then looks like maybe ARP was just playing with their food a little bit, particularly if they were trying something new in the quarterback spot, right? So maybe just took a couple quarters to get that warmed up and going. So yeah, man, it's awesome what they're doing, and this is pretty exciting.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in some ways this could have been a trap game for ARP, right? Like they've been playing so well and things have been going so smoothly, right? You can kind of lull yourself into like the idea that everybody's going to throw you the pick six, right? Like that interceptions are just a norm of the game they have, and so I think that's the thing too is, sometimes players do kind of ease up a little bit. This has been going so well. It's been so easy. And so for them to kind of get, I think it's probably a good thing, right? For them to kind of get a little bit of a shock early when it's non-district so that they go, oh man, we can't play like that and be successful. We've got to do something different. And they responded in the second half. And so I mean, congrats to them being undefeated. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy game and a crazy one to call because you got maroon and tiger. And, you're going to have to write in big letters like, this team is in white, this team is in maroon, because there are just so much similarities between the two schools. And so it's going to be a fun one. And, man, that's one definitely that, you don't want to miss.
All right, game 6. Tyler Legacy and Marshall. This was my other miss as I had Legacy, and they took the L to Marshall 49-33. Jeremy, you have that Legacy you have the colors on every week. You're over there on campus.
Yeah.
That's surprising. I'm sure you had Legacy as well. Is this the one you missed also, I'm guessing?
This is my other miss. Yeah, I think, talking to the coaches during the week and talking to the players, and I mean, they were super excited and pumped and felt like they'd kind of found some things, and I think they were excited. And again, anytime you beat your rivalry is a big deal, but then to beat your rival the way they did, I think they were certain that they had unlocked the key to the puzzle. And so I didn't get a chance. I mean, it was not online, and so I haven't had a chance to watch, and obviously I haven't had a chance yet to talk to anybody. But I was surprised. Not that Marshall couldn't win it, but I didn't think it was going to be a 16-point, win. That probably wasn't even as close as that at times, and so I was surprised more by how than it was the win. I mean, I thought Legacy would win it, but a little bit surprising for sure, just based on how the guys around the program felt.
Sharon, what do you think here? If you're muted, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Yeah, you got me. All right. So, so I'd had, Legacy. They got them in the poll just after that impressive win against Tyler High. But Marshall's just a good program, just a good team. And again, they're in that tough district. And so they're getting prepared for that. And so, yeah, I just think, just a little stiff competition, but hey, that Legacy needs that because of the district they're in, right? They're in a really tough district. So, and they played a decent game. So, but yeah, I had Marshall in it.
Kale?
I had Legacy. I was impressed with their win over Tyler High. Kind of like Jeremy was talking about. I was thinking that maybe they unlocked something. So it's neat to hear the players saying that too, and the coaches saying that, because that's what it felt like from the outside, that okay, they figured it out. And Coach Strahan and them, they figured it out. They got it. This game just proves they're not quite there yet, which is okay. It's not the end of the world, right? It's a non-district contest, but they still put up 33 points. Like, they still put up points offensively. Defensively has been a little bit of a struggle. We looked at it. They put up gave up a lot of points to Texas High. Didn't give up too many to Tyler, and the ones they did give up probably garbage time touchdowns. And then this past week, giving up a lot of points to Marshall. Defense has to get shored up. You're not going to be able to win shootouts every week, especially in that district that they're in. So got to figure out something defensively to slow these teams down. But offensively, I think they have figured it out, or not, maybe not completely, right? But they figured something out. They have success, and they found something that works. So offensively, I think they're okay. If they can get that defense to catch up to the offense, I think Legacy has a really good football team.
All right, game number 7. Athens knocked off Palestine 48-7. That was a game that was on NETSN, and Keith and Jason had finally a smooth sailing time there. As I got a nice, I don't know what that was on his plate, but Jason sent a nice picture. It looked like some kind of sandwich with some maybe barbecue sandwich of some sort on it. It looked pretty good.
Pop said they had baked potatoes up there for him too. So Palestine took care of the boys. Palestine took care of them.
They do eat. We ate well earlier in the year, didn't we, Jeremy? We had some pretty good tacos, I think, earlier.
I was going to say it was one of the best taco bars I've been to. It was almost like you're at the restaurant. They had so many different things you could put on them. So yeah, it was good.
I mean, Palestine, I think, give it to them. They're challenging themselves. Their pre-district schedule is challenging, and they're not playing any slouches. You had Nacogdoches and you've had Athens. I think they have Marshall coming up this week, and I think we'll have that game on NETSN. But they're challenging themselves, and I'm sure Coach Reyes wants that because they're going to be challenged in their district. So you're not going to get better playing teams that you think you can beat by 30 every week. You need to be challenging yourself with teams that are tough, and they're building that strength up in the preseason. Now it's not accumulating any win, but I think it's going to help them as the season goes. As year two, they're still getting better. I think we saw them in week one, and there was little spots of flashes of really good play for Palestine. And I think a lot of it was just Nacogdoches was too big up front, and they really inserted themselves. So I'm interested to see what this is going to translate for Coach Reyes and his group once district starts. And it'll be interesting to see if they can get. I know there's a Maybank on their schedule, but they probably will be favored there. But the rest of the games, they'll probably be underdogs. So we'll see if they can snag a win or two and get themselves in the mix there. I think that fourth spot is the one up for grabs, and there's 3 teams, including them, I think, that could get that. And so we'll see kind of where those teams end up falling and how that works out. But Jeremy, you saw Palestine week one. I think I was expecting a pretty good sized win by Athens, but I don't know about only getting 7 points. That's a little bit concerning.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately too, they walked into an Athens team that had lost the week before, right? And so they weren't planning on doing that twice in a row. So I think they had it
was
Athens
an angry hornet's nest, Jeremy.
Yeah,
angry hornet's nest.
You don't want to ever poke a hornet's nest, but especially if it's already fired up. And so I think the 7 points is concerning. And again, I think giving up a lot of points is concerning. I think you can maybe get away with one or the other, but it's tough when you give up a lot of points and don't score points to stay in games. And so I think for them, it's going to be, fixing those issues that they had. They had some I think it's just, again, I think we talked about it, like getting a rhythm going, right? Rhythm seems to be really important for that group. If they can get positive yards on first down, that gives them a chance. But when they get behind the sticks, it was really hard for them to do much of anything. And so I think that's going to be key for them is finding a rhythm as they move forward in these games and trying to find those plays that the quarterback likes and the team can run and really kind of get that rhythm going with the OC and the players on the field.
Jaron, what'd you think? He's muted again. He's forgetting.
It's getting me again.
There we go. Gotcha.
So
those wired headphones are getting you, Jaron.
Those wired headphones, yeah. So so I had Athens in this game, and I was really curious, and I'm still curious about Athens. That week 2 loss against Kaufman, that 1 point loss, it's kind of confusing, right? And Kaufman, programs, hasn't been super good in the last several years, and so I still had Athens in this game. But I am curious to see how Athens develops, through the rest of the season. Getting a tough district there for them. But yeah, so Palestine, it sounds like, just need to get all the pieces together, right? And it just takes time. And, as you mentioned, Brett, the hard part is their district doesn't give you a lot of grace, right? And so, but they are challenging themselves because they're going to need it. So,
KO.
There was a kid for Palestine that got ejected 2 plays into the game for back-to-back unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on the first 2 plays of the game. That's tough. Like that to me is a microcosm of the Palestine football team right now, right? Like I think there's talent there. I do. I think there is some talent there, but it's mental things. Like you can't do that. Like you just get 2 plays in, your team needs you. Like you can't. Jalen Carter with the Eagles. You can't go spitting on somebody before the first play of the game when your team needs you. Like you just can't. That's a bigger problem than I think anybody wants to talk about. That's a problem. But either way, I think Palestine. It's tough. Y'all all said it. I'll echo everything you said. You look down their schedule. Where's a win? Like where can you find a win for Palestine? They went 1-9 last year by beating Maybank. Maybank may not be as bad as they were last year. I know they just beat Wills Point. They got a win over Kemp. They got 2 wins this year already. Again, Kemp and Wills Point aren't world beaters, but I mean, Palestine may not. They could win that one, I think, but maybe not. What if they go 0-10? Like, I think Coach Reyes is a good person. I think he's a good coach, but you can't have a 1-9 and 0-10 season. Like it's not great. It's not great. It's not what Palestine wants. It's not what the kids want. So I think they just need to. And you were like 8 points to Jasper, 7 points to Athens, 14 on NAC. Like it's just not. And to Jeremy's point, like they're giving up a lot of points too. I don't know what the bright spot is, but Coach Reyes has to find it. They have to find that bright spot, and they have to build on that bright spot in their team and grow on that and try to put on a good showing week in and week out. It's tough. It is a murderer's row of a schedule. Like I don't think Palestine is as bad as their record or games indicate, if that makes sense. Like I think they're a better football team than their record is showing. It is just a monstrous schedule that they had put together. So good thing is next year's realignment, they can redo that schedule. So it won't be the same schedule next year.
Well, I'm interested to see if there's any shifting as far as up or down or within the district itself too. That'll that would cause. I mean, I think Athens dropped out and they came in, right? Didn't they when they redid the before
them in Maybank?
Yeah. So who knows where the numbers will fall and how that will play out? But unfortunately, they got to look at what they've got ahead of them. Again, I think the 4th spot is there. It's who's going to take it. Like right now, we don't know who's going to take it, but I got to think right now. If I was to make a guess, I'm thinking Coach Meeks and Henderson's looking pretty good for that 4th spot. So we'll see. But again, who knows? I mean, you get in that district and it's tough. You got to come and play every week. You can't take a week off. And so we'll see what happens there. A pretty good game, game 8 here. Van and Lindale. KO, you were on the sideline for this one, a back and forth affair. You had your red on, but you were on the Lindale sideline. Give us your inside perspective on this humongous game. Of course, this game's always great. This one was a pretty good classic there, as I hear.
You undersold. You said a pretty good game. This was an instant classic. This is,
okay.
In wrestling, we talk about match of the year candidates. This is a game of the year candidate. This was a phenomenal football game. Let me see if I can find some stats for you because there's some phenomenal stats for this with the amount of points and yards that these two teams put up. 56-49.
The defense was optional.
Defense was non-existent. No, defense did show up, and it showed up when it needed to. But, man, this game, 56-49, and Van, here it is. Yep, here it is. All right. According to the numbers from my friend David Barber at the Van Zant News, Van and Lindale combined for 105 points and 121 offensive plays from scrimmage, 48 first downs, 1,078 yards of offense, 520 rushing, 558 passing. Teams combined for 32 pass completions on 51 attempts. So the ball was going all over the place. I mean, it was Van would score, Lindale would answer back. Van would score, Lindale would answer back. Kickoff return for a touchdown, 77-yard touchdown run, like all over the place. 28-28 at halftime. Second half, Van takes the lead. Lindale's playing from behind all second half. They finally get a toe tap, beautiful touchdown in the back of the end zone by Hank
on
Thurman.
Camera?
Yes, actually. You can go check out the highlights on my YouTube channel and kltv.com. Okay. But the beautiful toe tap back of the end zone to tie it up at 49. Well, then the defense, I'm on the sideline. Yes, I'm in my red zone shirt on the Lindale sideline, and I'm over here saying, defense, we just need one stop. We need one stop, defense. So my biases went out the window. I'm not going to lie to you. It got the best of me, all right? The environment got the best of me. But defense got that one stop. They finally sacked Raleigh Hinch, who had 6 total touchdowns in the game. They finally sacked him on first down, I believe, and then sacked him again on third down to force a punt. Lindale got the ball back, got down with 31 seconds left, David Lindig, 17 yards around the right side, scored the touchdown with 31 seconds. Van had 2 timeouts, though, and still 30 seconds on the clock. They get the kickoff. They try to do the Boise State hook and lateral. They catch it on the pitch. It fumbles. Lindale falls on it and wins the game 56-49. Phenomenal game.
Sounds like
Absolutely great.
Sounds like a game I wanted to broadcast there. I need those shootouts. We had a good one, but no shootouts. Impressive win for Lindale.
Well,
ours was more like Tyson's punch out. It was more physical, defensive, right? Yeah.
I do think that, obviously Lindale showed they can score and they can put up some points. Defensively, they got hit with some big balls. They got hit with some deep balls that were stop it. Pause. They got hit with some deep passes over the top. So the secondary gave us some big keep it focused, Brett. Just keep moving, all right? The defense gave up some big plays there. So I know Coach Cochran's not going to be happy about that. But they were able to score and keep it going. What are y'all doing, guys? Can we be grown-ups? All right. Anyway.
This feels like 6th grade all over again, man.
I was impressed with Van, too. Van kept scoring and putting up points. Van's a very good football team. Lindale's a very good football team. Both these teams are going to be battling in their district, and I think both teams are capable of making a deep playoff run, going 3 or 4 rounds deep. Both these teams extremely good. Very, very evenly matched. I think both these teams are very evenly matched across the board. It was physical. The atmosphere was awesome. Crowd was raucous on both sides. Absolutely phenomenal night. Can't ask for nothing more on a Friday night than that type of game.
You're gonna have a tough task of beating that this year. Then that's what it sounds like.
Good luck. As Liam Neeson got told and taken, good luck. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Oh man, yeah, we were watching this game, the score back and forth as I was at the White House and Chapel Hill game, and it's like every time I flipped, there was another score. I'm like, man, high scoring affair. KO's having a blast. I'm sure. I knew you were, especially then when I saw the final. If it had went the other way, it might not have been as enjoyable. Still would have been an enjoyable game, but the finish for you wouldn't have been as exciting. So, all right, Jaron, what do you think about this one? I'm sure you said you were following scores on Friday night, so I know you were following this one.
Oh yeah. So, and been high on this Lindale team all season. Still thinking that there's a chance they can sew up that number 2 spot. That game against Chapel Hill may be a real good game later on once district commences. But it sounds like it was just from all accounts just an exciting game, and again another rivalry game. It's just a few minutes down the road from each other, and this is what you want to see. Especially when pre-district, right? Because you're gonna get some built-in rivalries in district, right? So. These pre-district rivalries are always fun, especially those geographical ones. But what's really what this gets me thinking about is that district that Van's in, because you got Pittsburgh that's so far having a good season. Now we'll see, and then of course you got Gilmer and PG, and so that's looking to be a pretty tough district, pretty intense district that. Which has really kind of just been a Gilmer and PG show for the longest time, right? And so,
well, if Pittsburgh is legit, like they're 3-0, and I think they're better, we'll see how good they are when they compete against those guys. But that really would make that district that much better if you've got that 4th team.
Yeah.
Because I think that's been when they flip and play each other, you want that 1 seed. But if you got if Pittsburgh's your 4th seed and they could turn out to be a really good team, then of course. Across the bracket there, possibly with that. That's just a tough draw,
right? Yeah, I mean that 4, that
but it wouldn't be
not exactly a celebratory spot, right?
No, but if they're improved, then it's maybe a little bit tougher task than maybe normal. But all right, Jeremy, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Jaron and I were at that game up there in Lone Oak, and it was man, there were a lot of good games to watch. Like we kept taking turns looking at different scores and trying to keep up with it. And yeah, it was like I was like, there's more points. No, there's more points. I mean, it felt like every time I looked, it was 7 more points. It was 6 more. It just kept. I mean, it was just score for score for score. And so I thought that was man, it would have been fun to be there as far as the excitement goes. Our game wasn't quite that exciting, and so Yeah, I mean, it would have been a lot of fun to see, and yeah, it was hats off to both teams. Again, I don't think this says anything negative against Van at all. I think it, that's just one of those games probably who had the ball kind of last almost, and obviously there was a turnover at the end, but it could have easily flipped the other way, and I think no one would have been surprised. And so I think both these teams have a really good shot of going a long way when it comes around to playoff times, and are both going to be set to make some noise in their district.
All right, game 9.
Quick,
oh yeah, go ahead.
My big concern is you gave up 49 points to Van that has a really good offense, but you got to face Kilgore and Chapel Hill, who also have very potent offenses that in the next few weeks. So my concern is you can't win shootouts every week, right? Like you can't. That's not a sustainable way to win. So getting a win like this one time is good, but let's lock down that defense back together and move forward. I say we. Lindale should lock the defense back down. I gotta stop. It's not Lindale Van week anymore. I gotta get it out.
And wasn't that one of the biggest things that we thought that was really waking up for Lindale this year was their defense, right?
The front seven was good. The front seven. I mean, I say that there were some big runs that were given up. I mean, the 77-yard run by DeQuavion Williams. They had another long run right before halftime where the guy got caught. So there were some big runs up the middle that they gave up, but it was missed tackles. It wasn't like they were out of position. It was missed tackles. And then some of the secondary stuff, there were vandals running scot-free, like they were social distancing, so I don't.
Were you saying they were vandalizing that secondary?
Ooh, yes, very well, Jeremy, very well.
I get one a show.
I also don't like. I'm not ringing the alarm. I don't think it's a huge concern. I think it just kind of played into that game. That right, like that's the type of game it was where it was an offensive showcase. Who was going to make the mistake that cost them the game? And Van ended up fumbling the ball twice. They had 2 turnovers, and that turned out to be the difference in the ball game. But I mean, it was both teams played their tails off, and it was again one of the best games I've ever been to. It was awesome.
All right. Game 9, the game where I was, Chapel Hill over White House in an impressive fashion, 41-17. Slow start again for Chapel Hill, which is a little concerning. They gave up, it was 14-7. So White House scored first, then Chapel Hill scored, then White House scored. And then after that, Chapel Hill pretty much held White House except for one field goal at the very end of the first half. They held them scoreless in the second half. Great adjustments from Chapel Hill. I think it was one of those rivalry games where it just came out where both teams were just firing haymakers at the first. Chapel Hill, man, it's the first time I got to see him in person this year, and it's a different type of team. It's not the normal what I've seen in the past 4 or 5 years where it's quarterback read handoff. It's run, and every once in a while they open up the playbook and they fling the ball around, it's a lot of fun. They've still got some guys that can tote the rock, but they're more they're 2-dimensional instead of being so 1-dimensional. I think that's really going to help them. I think, as much as they lost from graduation, I think they're a better overall team as far as what the weapons that they've got that they can throw the ball around the yard. And Kyle covered them in 7-on-7. I think that's why they're more successful in 7-on-7 than they have been in the last few years, like this past year, because of the fact they've got that passing game that can really stretch the field. I mean, and he can throw it deep. I don't know if you guys saw Blaylock's catch where he jumped up, stole it from the White House player, almost fell, and kept his feet and ran down. I think it was like a almost 90-yard touchdown pass. Just an incredible performance by Chapel Hill. Of course, we were on the call there. I was with Josh and Chris, and White House showed some signs of improvement, but they've got to put some bubble wrap around their poor quarterback. He is such a good athlete and such a good player, but he just takes so many hits. Like, I don't know, he was probably over the weekend in the ice bath and hot bath, whatever, because they finally pulled him out at the end because he just was taking shots, and a few times it was, he didn't get the block he was looking for, and he just got hammered coming around the end. And so I don't think it's anything like White House is. Chapel Hill's just a really good team. And Kyle's right. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting here in a couple of weeks. That Chapel Hill Lindale game. I might know where you can find that game. It may be on NETSN here in a couple of weeks, and we'll get to call that one. But man, it's going to be interesting to see that matchup because that front seven of Lindale, they're going to have to get pressure on G. Because I don't think they're going to be able to play the guys in the back one-on-one. They're going to get the athletes at Chapel Hill. There's 2 or 3 guys that can just flat out fly. And if they get the ball in the open field, it's trouble. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup. But I was thoroughly impressed with my Bulldogs, getting to see them for the first time here, actually in a couple of years. Because I didn't really get to watch them a ton last year. And excited to see them match up against some tough teams in the district. And just overall impressed with them. All right, since Jaron, I'm going to give it to you since you're our Chapel Hill doubter here. Look at him.
Just wait till we talk about polls. Okay, just wait. There's a little bit of movement there, but no, I mean, again, Jeremy and I, we were watching that game as well, and through that first quarter and first part of the second quarter, we're like, okay, all right, maybe have a little something here, but as just the game went on, and that's what happens when you're just full of athletes, right? As a game develops and goes, you just have so many weapons that you can turn to, and a team that's playing against that can only do so much, right? And so, sounds like that was a deal. Sounds like it was an exciting atmosphere, full house, and just really fun.
We were with the people, Jaron.
Yeah,
we were right there with the people. It was a lot of fun.
So, man, I'm just what you're saying about Chapel Hill. We'll see what happens this season, but this may be the year, that where they really make an even bigger statement. So,
all right, KO, you what do you think about this one?
The score early on worried me, had me a little concerned, but it's kind of like we talked about last week. White House kind of got it put to them the week before against Kilgore. I thought they would come out and play better, and they did early on, played better, but I think Chapel Hill just kind of wore them down, and the better team eventually just kind of pulled away. I'm impressed with Chapel Hill. I'm excited to get to see them this week. We'll talk about it later on when we talk about the games, but excited to see them this week. They're going to have a tough test against Carthage, but I'm glad you said that, Brett, because I was thinking, I haven't seen Chapel Hill yet this year, but just seeing them on film, like seeing highlights and stuff, it looks like a different team. It doesn't look like the same, like you said, just hand it to Ricky or let Brisbane go do something. Like it seems like a more complete, well-rounded team. And I think that, and like we've talked about, Coach McFarland has that defense playing a lot better in years that they have in years past.
Well, he's been able to make some adjustments. So you're down to Gilmer at half. You were losing to White House early. Adjustments are definitely made. And some changes, and you're seeing that, and the guys are responding. You've got 10 guys returning. They know how Coach McFarland works. The adjustments were made. They made them, and then things were totally different after that.
And I think that's the most impressive thing to me is the defense being able to just improve year after year after year. And then now, to your point, they lost some talent on the defensive side of the ball too, like Trevor Brooks and people like that. So they lost some talented players on the defensive side of the ball.
Castaneda, though, is impressive. He's a ball hawk.
Okay. So Castaneda, a name we need to keep an eye on.
He's kind of been that Trevor Brooks guy where you see him come up and really he's just laying wood and popping people. So he's one to watch.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Chapel Hill, and after seeing Lindale Friday night and then hearing about how Chapel Hill's been doing, that Lindale Chapel Hill game coming up down the road is going to be a big one. I think, as we'll get to the next game in a minute, but I think that team is going to win the district. I think they're kind of there, but I think the battle for 2, 3, 4 in that district is going to be a really fun one to watch.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I think, we were sitting there Friday night and we were like, whoa, is that score right? Like, did somebody, like you never know if somebody puts the score in just right. And so I think at first we were like, man, that might not be, and then we tuned over to look and we're like, oh man, that is the score. And, so I think, again, impressive for White House to get off to a hot start. And then I think, like you said, the better overall team won. And, poor JoJo Adams of White House, that poor guy's going to need some bubble wrap or something, and he needs a an extra tackle or, I don't know, something. They've got to find the balance of protecting him and then getting weapons out in the open, right? There's a balance in there. And I think if they want to have a chance to do something, they're going to have to find that balance, because if he's not upright, I mean, he's a big part of what they do. I think he's their biggest returner as far as yards, passing and rushing and whatnot. And so if you can't keep him healthy, it's going to be a long season for them. And, again, impressive for Chapel Hill to kind of overcome that little bit of a slow start and then just stomp on the gas and then not slow down to the end. So.
All right. Speaking about stomping on the gas, this game, I did pick this game correctly, but I did not see this 66-6 as Kilgore just absolutely destroyed Gilmer. I don't know if you're a Gilmer Buckeye. I mean, 1-2, are you concerned? I mean, yeah, it doesn't get. I mean, and you go look at what they've got on the schedule. I mean, it doesn't get much easier. I mean, so I don't know. It just, I thought this game would be closer. I did think Kilgore would win by 2 or 3 scores, but not by 60 points. This is a Gilmer team that's tradition based, and I think Coach Metzel's going to have to go back to the film and figure out what he needs to do to fix some of this, because they've got in their district a van team that just hung with Lindale. Now we'll see Lindale and Gilmer here upcoming and see how that matchup goes. You've got Pleasant Grove. They hadn't lost yet. They're a good team. I don't know. I'm not sure what to think of Gilmer. I know they showed signs in the Chapel Hill game. They were up 20-6 at half, and then just basically didn't score hardly anything the rest of the game. So, KO, do you think we should be more concerned of Gilmer, or is this Kilgore that much better? Like,
I don't know what to think about this one, Brett. Honestly, like, I picked Kilgore preseason to win state, so I'm fully invested on the Kilgore Bulldog train. But I didn't expect a 60-point blowout. Like, I don't know who has these stats. I don't know if Gilmer's ever been beat by 60 points. Like, that is insane. So I haven't seen any of the film. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Kilgore was just that much better and if Gilmer just had a really bad, like, I don't know. But what I do know is that Kilgore is a dang good football team. And I'm with you. I thought that they would win by a couple, 3 scores, but not this. Now, if you're Gilmer, I don't know, Brett. I don't know. I know we're supposed to say, I don't know. Do you
like throw this film away?
I mean, you got to refocus. You got Lindale. You got to play Lindale this week, who's coming off a big win. They got momentum, heavy momentum. Here's what scares me, though, as a Lindale person. You're going to get one pissed off Gilmer Buckeye football team. Well, they are going to be angry.
And is Lindale going to be looking ahead in 2 weeks to Chapel Hill? And
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Lindale and Gilmer, in these past few years that they've played, there's been a budding rivalry there. I want to say there's been some, even from announcers of Gilmer not saying kind things about Lindale. So I think that there's some. I don't think Lindale's going to overlook Gilmer, but it worries me, Gilmer, because you get beat like that with Coach Metzel. Oof. I would hate to be at practice this week.
I'm sick all week, Coach. I'm sick.
Yeah, I don't. I'm good Friday, but all week I'm sick. I don't know. But I mean, I'm not going to sound the alarm if I'm a Gilmer Buckeye fan just yet, because we've seen Gilmer get off to slow starts before. Now, granted, they hadn't been beat by 60 before, but we've seen them get off to slow starts before. So I'm not terribly concerned, but I think at the start of the year, we thought PG was number 1, head and shoulders, and then Gilmer at 2 and Van at 3. I don't know if that's the case right now. And I don't know. We don't know how good Pittsburgh is. That Pittsburgh-Gilmer game could be for the 4th spot. And if Gilmer goes in as a 4 seed, they get Carthage in the first round.
Round 1, so, Gilmer and Carthage.
I don't know what to think about Gilmer right now, but I'm not going to sound the alarm just yet, because it's still early in the season and we've seen Gilmer get off the slow starts before. So concerned, yes. Sounding the alarm, no.
And it's not like they're playing little rinky-dink schools, I guess.
No, they're not.
Jaron, what do you think about this score?
I mean, just surprised. I mean, we know Kilgore's that good, right? And especially that defensive front. We knew their secondary was good. We knew their defense was good, but that defensive front's really, making a name for itself as well. And, Gilmer loves to run the ball, especially this season. And so I think that's what, sounds like that's what Kilgore did, was just shut them out. If you're Gilmer, though, like, you have to have this game this week, right? Like, you have to, because I just really think that you need a statement win to swing your momentum back, right? Or you're going to start district play at 1-3, right? Now their first couple games in district doesn't seem like a little bit lighter. Well, I mean, you're going to take in Brennan's a pretty good team, right? That's not district, but then you got Pittsburgh, Van, and Pleasant Grove to open district play, right? So I really think you need this win, if you're Gilmer, or you're really, starting to wonder for the rest of the season.
Jeremy?
I am sounding the alarm. I'll be the contrarian here, but again, not because you lost, but you gave up 66 points, right? Like, what's scary to me is you can get beat. You can get beat by a really good team. They may shut you down, but you cannot give up 66 points and not be super nervous. I don't care. That's hard, right? Like, we were at a game that was like that. It was tough to watch, right? It felt like just like, and again, I think sometimes that snowball rolls, but I think I'm not, it's not 5 alarm, right? But it's more than like concerned, right? I'm in the middle here because, again, it doesn't get easier. And so I think I think this is gut check time in a little bit, right? Like, I think coach is going to have to call the players out and, like, what do you want to do? What are you going to do? Are we going to take this? Are we going to let somebody just, you know what I mean? And again, I think it's a good way to challenge your team. And I don't think it's the end of the world, but I'm more concerned than I thought I would be, right? I didn't expect them to win, but again, if you get beat by 60 and you want to be able to make a name for yourself at some point in the season, I think it is a nervous time for them. I think there's a lot of fans that are probably pretty nervous, and this is just so unexpected. They're not used to losing a lot and losing like this, right? Like, it's just, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's a little bit of a panic time. And, so I think this is a chance where your season can go one of two ways. It can galvanize your team, right? It can get everybody on the same train. It can get everybody on the same page. Hey, we can't do this by ourselves. Or is this just a team that just doesn't have as much? I don't know. I think the time will tell. Obviously, we'll find out. But I am a little bit nervous here for this team. I'll sound at least a 2 alarm fire here. So,
all right. That's the pick'em games for last week. Let's look at our updated polls, fellas. But before we do that, is there any other games that weren't in the pick'em that just stuck out to you as maybe a surprising win for someone, or this was a good game, or anything like that? Kyle, you
Tyler High.
Oh, go ahead,
Tyler High put a beat down on Seagoville. I think it was 63-0.
Do you think they were a little angry after last week?
Yeah, I think they were a little bit mad. That was a big one. I think that was surprising. And then, Jaron and I saw a really fast, really good Lone Oak team. I didn't know what to expect walking in, and that looked like a field full of track stars. I mean, they were so fast. Their running back's a stud. Their quarterback's a stud. Like, it just felt like it did. It just looked like, Big Sandy was kind of running through some sand, and it looked like Lone Oak had track shoes on, and they were running the 100 Usain Bolt style. I mean, it was an unbelievably talented team to watch.
That team's for real. Like, that Lone Oak team, again, they're kind of on the outskirts of what I'd consider East Texas or whatever, but that team's legit. They were impressive.
Shout out to Tyler High's Kadarius McMiller. 6 touchdowns, school record for Tyler High on Friday night. Lufkin got a huge win over Little Rock Southwest. I think it was 76-0 or something like that. Not surprised that they won. I think that's a big win, though, for Coach Absek to kind of get some momentum going forward, but especially with the game against Tyler High this week.
You got a Longview playing South Oak Cliff down to a 3-point loss, but I mean, South Oak Cliff just beat North Shore a few weeks ago, so
they only lost to Duncanville by 7.
I mean,
right?
so that's I would say not a bad. I mean, you played that close of a game. I think it's not a bad loss. It's a good competition game for them. That's something they need for later in the season.
And still don't have your head coach, right? So
yeah. Let's see another one I saw. Oh, this one I saw that is an impressive win, and we talked about them a little bit ago. Henderson 50-2 over Jacksonville. Henderson I mean, that we know Jacksonville is still down, and Coach Stevenson is trying to get those guys, but that's a pretty big statement. And I'm assuming that means they either blocked an extra point and ran it back, or they got a safety there, and that was the only points they scored. So, an impressive win by Coach Meeks and the Henderson Lions there over a 5A Jacksonville team. Let's see. Of course, Tatum, I think, was kind of playing with Newton there early, but Newton ended up beating them 42-12. But I'm intrigued to see how Tatum does. We've gotten to see them once, and I'll get to see them again this week as they kind of continue to get Grant Adcock more and more reps at quarterback. I think the more and more he gets in that offense and is in charge of it, I think they'll continue to improve. Y'all mentioned Pittsburgh, 45-0 over Grace. I mean, Grace is a pretty solid, private school team in this area, and Pittsburgh 45-0. I'm intrigued to see Pittsburgh. They're a team I'm watching just to see like how they've been winning and winning impressively, but is it their competition who they're playing, or is it they're just that much better? So I'm interested to see kind of where Pittsburgh's at here.
And how quick it's happened, right? This
Yeah.
is Coach Hostetler's first year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fast.
Impressive. Garrison made a statement, 54-0 over Anahuac. They were ticked off after last week, so no surprise there. New Diana got their first win this week, 56-20 over a Sabine.
I was surprised that Texas High took a loss to Midlothian Heritage. That was a bit of a surprise. I mean, Midlothian got their first win, and it was a 14-point game. I was shocked when I saw the score there. That was one I didn't see coming.
Yeah, but Heritage is a deceiving team. I mean, they play a tough, pre-district schedule. So,
let's see. Anything else that you guys saw? Just kind of going down here through some of these games, see if there's anything that stuck out to me. Let's see. I don't really see any other ones.
Let's look at those polls. I'm interested to see what the polls look like.
I feel like it's going to be another shakeup week, guys. There's just been so much, that team won this week. They're moving up. Oh, they lost. I mean, it's like just been no one staying around. They win and they get in, and then it's like they drop down. All right, so we're going to start here with the big school poll, 6A, 5A, 4A, 15 through 11. We got at 15, we've got Gilmer, 14, Athens, our only new member of the poll this week. At 13, the Canton Eagles. We got Van at 12, and Pittsburgh moves up from 14 to 11 in the poll. Van and Canton aren't going to like being next to each other in the poll. They probably need to separate. They don't really get along too well. So Van likes Canton about like Van likes Lindale. They all kind of don't like each other there. Kyle probably can confirm that. I had on my poll, I had Van at 15. I had Gilmer 14, Pittsburgh 13. I have Henderson at 12 and Athens at 11. I liked what Coach Meeks has done so far. And so I have them. They're not in the top 15, but I do have them in my poll. Jaron, what do you have, and what do you think about where your guys sitting?
All right, so we're just doing the bottom five right now?
Yeah, just the bottom five.
So still have Center in there, although they lost big to North DeSoto. I know that North DeSoto team well. Broadcasted them for several years, and so kind of thought that they'd be a loss. So I still have them hanging around. Got Canton in my poll. They're at 14. Got Pittsburgh in at 13. It's still just kind of waiting to see. Next couple of weeks will tell a lot. Got Van at 12, and then got Marshall there at 11.
Okay. KO?
I had two new members enter my poll. I brought in the Canton Eagles at 15. I'm impressed with what they're doing defensively. They have not given up a lot of points this year, and you know me, I love me some defense. Defensive teams are key to me. I also moved in Henderson. I didn't have Henderson in my poll, so I moved them in at 14. That's where I got them sitting. I moved Athens up from 15 to 13. I dropped Van down to 12th from 9th. And I moved Pittsburgh up 2 spots, up to 11th. I'm kind of like with Jaron. I'm impressed with Pittsburgh, but I want to see more from them too. So I'm putting them in the poll, but I want to see what they can do going forward.
All right, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I had I dropped center out of my pole. They were kind of hanging toward the bottom of my pole, and so then I kind of had a coin flip between Henderson and Canton, and I ended up actually putting Henderson at 15 and probably put Canton at 15B. I mean, they were both close. Probably more of the opponent issue to me with Henderson being an over Canton, but it was close. And then I had Gilmer drop from 8 to 14. I had Van from 12 to 13. And then Athens jumped from 15 to 12. And then Pittsburgh went from 14 to 11 for me.
Okay. All right. So we all kind of had, it's very, very similar. A little difference, but not too much difference there. All right. Let's go 10 through 6. We've got Marshall at 10, Lufkin at 9, Texas High at 8, Sulphur Springs at 7, and Lindale at 6. I had Marshall at 10. I had Texas High at 9. I had Sulphur at 8, Lufkin at 7, and Longview at 6. You go first this time, Jeremy.
So my number 10, I have Marshall at 10. I believe they were let's see, right? Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Let me say that again. I have Lufkin at 10. Excuse me. I had them at 11, moved them to 10. Marshall stayed at 9 for me. Texas High moved from 5 to 8 in my poll. Lindale jumped from 10 to 7. And then I had Sulphur going from 7 to 6.
Okay. KO.
I have Texas High at 10. I dropped them from 7th to 10th after a loss to Midlothian Heritage. I moved up Marshall from 11th to 9th after their big win. Moved up Lindale 2 spots, 10th to 8th. Sulphur moved up 1 spot from 8th to 7th. And then, spoiler, my top 6 stayed the same. So I still got the Lufkin Panthers at a 6th spot.
Okay. Jaron?
Yeah, so this was probably my hardest spot. I was trying to nail this down. I think I could interchange several of these, but got Lindale at 10. They were up. They were at 11. Bumped them up to 10.
Jaron, let me stop you right there. Okay. Yeah. So earlier in the show, you said you had Lindale as your second best team in District 9.
Okay. Well,
I'm just going to ask you
earlier. No. Earlier in the season, no. I said that they could. Earlier in the season, I said I think they could have a good chance at getting that second spot. Today, I said it's going to be interesting to see if they challenge for that second spot. Okay. Because as I've seen Chapel Hill play right now, I think it's Chapel Hill's spot.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. I want to clip that. I want to make sure we get that.
I told you to see my polls. If you just be patient.
I just had to ask because I knew that you had Chapel Hill higher. That's why I had to ask that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jaron. I just gotta give you a hard time.
Still have Gilmer in there again. Don't know what to do with them. But still have Gilmer there.
So they lost 66 to 6, and they're.
I know that was, to be honest, is an oversight. I'll just be honest. I was doing this on my phone. All right. Okay. Sulphur Springs is at 8. Texas High, I dropped them from 5 to 7, and then got Lufkin at 6.
Okay. All right. I'm just giving you a hard time, Jaron. I love you. All right, here we go. All right, top 5. Here we go. There was some movement in the top 5. 4 of the top 5 teams stayed, but we had a rising jumper that jumped into the top 5. We have Longview now dropped from 2 to 5 after their loss to South Oak Cliff. You had Pleasant Grove went from 8 to 4. They are not the 4 spot. Chapel Hill moved up 1 spot from 4 to 3. Kilgore moved up from 3 to 2, and Carthage stayed at number 1. My poll, I had PG. I had Lindale at 4 after the impressive win over Van. Chapel Hill at 3, Kilgore 2, and Carthage at 1. All right, Jaron, go ahead. Tell me where you got my dogs, Jaron.
So I got him here at 5. I had him at 7, knocked him, brought him up to 5. I've had PG at 4 the whole time. I just think they're really good. I did knock Longview down to 3. I didn't knock him as much. I'm surprised to see him drop down to 5 in our poll. Because again, I think that that Sock team's good. you know what I mean? It's not like it was a horrible loss, right?
Well, it's just because they did lose, and there's teams up there that are really good that didn't. That's that.
So I got Kilgore that went from 3 to 2, and then Carthage at 1.
Okay. Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had PG at 5. I dropped Longview from 2 to 4. And then I have Kilgore at 3. Chapel Hill moved up to 2, and then Carthage is my 1. So I moved up both Kilgore and Chapel Hill up a spot, and then dropped Longview 2 on the loss. And again, it was more. Again, they only lost by 3. I know that, but when Kilgore has a huge decisive win and Chapel Hill has a big win, it was hard not to move them up, and so that was why I did it. Then I said Carthage at 1. So,
all right, KO.
Yeah, I really just my poll is just swapped. I have PG at 5 and Longview at 4, and then Chapel Hill, Kilgore, and Carthage. I had Longview at 2 and dropped them to 4. Like I didn't drop them big time. I didn't dock them big because it was a 3-point loss to a really good South Oak Cliff team, but they did lose, so I had to drop them a little bit. But yeah, I mean this top 5 is about as solid as you can get. I mean, there's not a bad team in there.
Yeah, and here's the deal: like, out of our group, there's going to be several that play each other, so Longview's going to earn their way back up with some other teams losing. So that was kind of my thinking. If they lose, I mean, even if it's to a good team, you've got to come down a little bit. And so that's
so on the main poll. Did Gilmer drop out of it? I can't remember.
Gilmer is 15.
15. Okay.
No, they stayed in it because you had them at like 5.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm at 9.
9. Okay. 1 and 2. They're at 9.
Way off.
Still too high.
Only they could get beat by a 60 and move up in someone's poll. If Chapel Hill got beat by 3, they'd be out of the poll for the rest of their life.
Sure would.
They did not move up in my poll.
Oh, man. All right. Well, is there anybody that you guys see that you're watching for? It's like, I know Jeremy mentioned Canton and his, that they're in the poll, but like that's on the edge of your poll that you're kind of keeping your eye on.
Henderson's for me. I need to get Henderson in there. They've had some impressive wins, and now, obviously district play is going to be tough, but shout out to Coach Meeks.
Kyle, you got anybody that's your C? No? Jeremy, anybody besides Canton that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think Canton was my, like I said, it was kind of a coin flip with Canton and Henderson, and probably in hindsight I could even have bumped. I mean, I had Gilmer at 14 in my poll, so I probably could have bumped them out. It was just hard to do because they were 8 the week before, so I didn't know that it justified completely falling out of there with a tough test. But that was my kind of the three team shuffle. There was, do I move Gilmer, Henderson, and Canton? And so Canton gets a big win this week. I think they jump in my poll. I just want to see who they, kind of how the next couple weeks go for them. So,
okay, all right, let's move down to the small school poll. This one's always interesting. This one is it's like I feel like there's a huge shakeup every week in this one. There's just so much talent in East Texas, and they're all beating up each other. So, let's start with 15 through 11. Now we'll say. Let me see what we've got. We've got just one new team entering the poll this week. We had some movement, but just one new team. The surprising move of the season for me right now is Malakoff. They're now at 15, guys, and they went from losing 1 game in 2 years, and it was the state championship game, to have already lost 2 games. So they've trickled down. They went from 5 to 15 with the loss this week. Hawkins stayed at 14. Elysian Fields jumps into the poll for the first time. They were a team that I was watching for as they keep winning at 13. We have a 2-way tie now for the 11th, 12th spot. So it's Corsicana Mildred and Grand Saline are tied for 11.
Why we have a Corsicana team in our top 15 is beyond me, but please continue.
I don't know. That's a good question. They were 5th last week, so they dropped to 11th. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Anyway, I had West Rusk at 15 for me after they got an impressive road win against Gladewater. I have Joaquin as they've kind of bounced back in 14 for me. I have Elysian Fields at 13, Hawkins at 12, and I have the Carlile Indians at 11 because they've had an impressive season so far. Their only loss a close loss to a Mount Enterprise team that's also in the poll. So I think what Carlile's been doing is impressive. All right, Jaron, who you got there?
Yeah, so I've got Gladewater in at 15. Big drop for them, but I still have them in the poll. Again, we'll see. That was kind of such a fluky kind of loss, it sounds like. And so see what happens. I got Carlile up to 14. They're impressive. They're going to keep climbing, I believe. Got Malakoff in at 13, dropped them from 7. Mount Enterprise at 12, Grand Saline at 11. And then, So.
All right. KO.
I do not have a Corsicana team in my top 15. I
Me neither,
moved Gladewater. I moved Gladewater down to 15th. They were at 11th. I kept them in only because West Rusk getting in my poll, but they're right on the fringe, so I didn't want to dock them too hard for losing by one to West Rusk team. So I moved them down 4. I moved Grapeland 4 spots from 10th to 14th, only because the Frankston team is ranked high in my poll too. But I brought a new team in. I moved in the Hawkins Hawks. I know they're at 14 in our poll. I put them at 13 in mine. Impressed with what they're doing right now. You could have easily slotted Elysian Fields at that spot for me. It was a toss up between them two. I moved Woodville up from 15th to 12th, and then Garrison up from 14th to 11th after their wins.
Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I actually took I had the Sandys, I think, ranked 13th last week. So by the loss, they dropped out of my poll. And then I was looking at Hawkins and Elysian Fields as the I only had one spot for a newcomer, and so I went with Elysian Fields. I think because their win was bigger, and maybe that's not a fair assessment, but I've just seen their scores have been more impressive. It seems like. So they're my 15. Gladewater dropped from 11 to 14 in my poll. Joaquin climbed from 15 to 13. And then I dropped Malakoff from 4. I had him way too high. I had him at 4 after one loss. I dropped him all the way down to 12. And then I had Grand Saline go from 14 to 11.
Okay. All right. Top 10. At 10, we've got Garrison. At 9 is Wascom. 8 is Mount Enterprise. 7 is Jefferson. And 6, a big boost up the poll after their impressive win, the Frankston Indians coming in at number 6. So they're I believe they're the biggest jumper of the week. They're kind of the rocket team. Strap a rocket to their back. They're playing well.
Where'd you say Jefferson was? Where?
Jefferson is at 7. That I guess you didn't like that spot.
That's just crazy. Like, I mean,
that's where I had him in my poll. I have
you lose to a really good Newton team, right? Like that's your only loss, and you're beating the brakes off everybody else.
But look who's ahead of them, Jaron. That's the problem. There's some really good. They're the highest one-loss team up there.
Yeah, but are we head to head in these guys, right? Like I'm sorry, like I put Jefferson up against Frankston, Wascom, Lovelady, Art. I think Jefferson's winning that game, right? So,
well, I mean, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. You're also a very Northeast Texas bias with very north corners. So the higher they're up, the more biased you get.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
So I got Mount Enterprise at 10, Wascom at 9, Garrison at 8, Jefferson at 6, Jefferson at 7, Frankston at 6 is my top 10. So go ahead and tell us yours, Jaron, since you're so eager to spill it now. What do you got?
As far as individual polls, we're all entitled to our own opinion. I was surprised that in the big poll, Jefferson made that drop. But anyways, I got Atlanta still at number 10. I know that's not everyone has that, but Garrison at 9, Frankston at 8. They're moving up. Wascom at 7, Lovelady at 6.
Okay. Jeremy, who you got?
Yeah, I have Wascom at 10. I have Mount Enterprise at 9. So Wascom went from 12 to 10. Mount Enterprise moved up 1 to 9. I had Lovelady move up 1 to 8. Frankston move up 1 to 7, and then Garrison move up 1 to 6.
Okay. KO?
Now, as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I probably should have moved Frankston up, but I didn't know where to put him. I moved Grand Saline up from 12th to 10th, so they moved up 2 spots. I kept Frankston at 9. I had Frankston at 9, and I kept him at 9. I probably should have moved them up, but I have ARP at 8, which also had an impressive win. Mount Enterprise at 7, also impressive win. And Wascom that got a 2-point win over Shelbyville. So, I mean, I probably could have moved Frankston up, but I didn't and kept everybody the same because they all won.
Okay. All right. Man, this is an interesting poll, guys. I enjoy this one. All right, so let's do
and to Jaron's point, though, I do agree with him that head up, I think Jefferson can beat Frankston. I think Jefferson can beat Lovelady. Head up, I do think Jefferson is the better team. My only argument to that, Jaron, would be you were comparing 3As to 2As at that point.
I know.
So
I mean,
that's not exactly fair.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when you go, I mean, you see the same thing in the big poll, right? Like big school poll, like. So it's hard, right? Because it is apples and oranges.
But I agree with you. I think Jefferson is in 3A easily top 4, maybe top 3 team in 3A. But when you're doing all of them, but I'm with you. I do agree.
Well, it's just hard not to compare, right? Like because you are ranking these. Like I mean, it is a
and here's the thing. Like they just need to keep winning. They've got ARP and Troop are going to play each other eventually. Lovelady's got some competition, and they're like these teams to me, it all is going to shake out. So, you just have to keep winning, and you move up the poll. Easy as that. All right, so top 5 here, and actually is the same 5 teams as last week. The order did switch a little bit at the top. So we had Lovelady at 5, ARP at 4, Troop at 3, Westwood drops to 2, and Winsboro with their impressive win over Honeygrove. I think that's what got on the 1 spot. And so, Kyle, I'm interested. You got that smile on your face. I know you got something to tell me. Go. What do you got?
It's just funny to me. Like I get why. Like I get the way I do polls. Right, is I'll set it at the start of the year. And then I'll adjust it from there. So if a team wins, they automatically move up, like regardless of score, like take score out of it. Win, you move up, right? So it's just wild to me that a team can win Westwood and drop a spot in the poll just because I understand Winsboro's win was a big one over Honeygrove. I get it. I understand it. Again, it's just funny to me that you can drop and lose. But anyway, I have at number 5, I have Jefferson at 5. I have Troop at 4, Lovelady at 3, Winsboro at 2, and Westwood at 1. None of mine changed from last week because, as I just told you, everybody won. So I kept everybody the same.
All right, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I've got Jefferson at 5. I have ARP at 4, Troop at 3, kind of the same. Like I guess I moved. Well, that's not true. So I moved Jefferson from 6 to 5 because of the Malakoff drop. But my order stayed the same. And then I moved ARP from 5 to 4, and then Troop stayed at 3. Westwood has been at 2 the whole time for me, and Winsboro has been my number 1. So the only reason Westwood's behind is because that's what I had from the beginning. And so my top 3 stayed the same, and then True, sorry, I just went blank. ARP and Jefferson moved up 1 because of them winning, and Malakoff dropped significantly in my poll because of their second loss and the way they lost. So,
all right, Jaron.
Yeah, so my actually top 6 stayed the same. But I already mentioned Lovelady, but yeah, they're at 6 and ARP's at 5, Troops at 4. I still have Jefferson up there. I know Northeast Texas bias, I guess. I just really am a big Ty Taylor fan, and really do think as the season progresses, they're just going to continue to highlight themselves as one of the top 3 teams in our area. I've got Westwood at 2, Winsboro at 1.
Okay. All right. So this poll should have some teams that you're watching for. I'll start. I've got a West Rusk team that I entered in the poll that was impressive. I'm looking to see how they fare against Tatum. I know it's a difference of the classifications. Tatum's still working on that, offense with a lot of new pieces. So that's a game I'm interested in to see. There's a couple of games that I'm watching for down at this bottom that will determine if some teams stay in for me. Joaquin is a team I think that took that early L, but I think they're on the rise for me that I'm watching for as they continue to move through their schedule. and Carlile as well. They're not. I had them in my poll, and they've been impressive. And they've got a tough opponent this coming week, and so I'm interested to see how they do. And their opponent, Brook Hill, is another team I'm looking for. I'm looking to see how they look against a team of Carlile that we've seen that's been pretty impressive so far. I know Brook Hill took the L 2 weeks ago. They were on a bye this week against a really good Frisco Legacy team. But I'm interested to see how that goes. Is there anybody that you guys see that you're kind of watching out for? I'll start with you, Jaron. I know you got somebody in that northeast corner. Who are you watching for?
Well, actually, this is a south team. I really need to get Joaquin back in there, because especially as Frankston's progress, that loss to Frankston, really doesn't look that bad, right? And so I need to get them back in there, and need to get Grapeland back in there too, probably. Now, again, they have that big loss at Frankston, but I still think Grapeland's a really good team. So,
okay, couple of South teams. I'm surprised, Jaron.
I know.
I figured you'd have somebody from that North quadrant up there that you were watching it for. KO, you got anybody?
There's a few. Carlile, I need to keep my eye on them. I have Mount Enterprise ranked high in my poll, and they barely lost to Mount Enterprise and have 2 good wins over San Augustine and Overton outside of that. So I need to keep an eye on Carlile. Need to keep an eye on Elysian Fields. Like I said, between them and Hawkins, it was a toss-up. I guess you can go to my Northeast Texas bias a little bit. Well, Elysian Fields is over there too. My former radio bias there. That's why I chose Hawkins over Elysian Fields, I guess, in that scenario. So Elysian Fields is one I'm keeping my eye on. Brook Hill as well, keeping my eye on them. Got to watch out for Grace too. I know Brook Hill and Grace have a game coming up. I know Grace just took a couple of L's, but I mean, Pittsburgh we think is a really good team, and that's a 4A school. So anyway, there's a couple of schools I'm keeping my eye on, but yeah.
Jaron?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Kay. I didn't mean to cut you off. But you mentioned EF, I really do think Coach Main's doing a great job over there, and so I need to get them into.
Jaron we know you need 100 spot.
I do, man.
We need to create Jaron's top 100, and you just go
out the top 100. The ribbons.
You get a ranking, and you get a ranking.
If they just keep winning, they'll eventually be in there.
Yeah, all you gotta do is just keep winning, right?
Just win, baby. Just win.
Just win. So EF, and then Hawkins, they've been impressive, So
Jeremy?
Sorry, I just had the kudos on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about. I think Atlanta's another team I'm watching. They're 2-1. And so I think that's a team that's could be close in there. I think Carlile's right there, Brook Hill. Then I didn't have Hawkins ranked, so I think those are the 4 teams that I'm kind of keeping an eye on right now that kind of stick out to me, and just to see where they go and kind of how this. And I think that's the fun thing about this poll is really you could have a 20-team poll and we'd still disagree about where people are. Right? That's the fun thing about it is you could make the poll bigger and somebody's still gonna So I think that's what makes these great. Is people can tune in and agree or disagree with us, and again it's kind of that early season thing where it's really going to matter at the end, right, where everybody shakes out. And so it's fun to do this, and we could be way wrong about some teams that look really good right now, and way wrong about some teams that don't look great, and then the district hits and all of a sudden they look like the team we thought they might have been all along. And so
I think the interesting thing about our pick'ems this week, and we're going to get to them in just a minute, but there's a lot of matchups, and just about every matchup either has a person or a team that's in our poll, or it's a matchup of 2 teams that we're looking at. I think if you go through these, I think it's a really good group of games. 2 teams that play each other this week that I'm also looking for that I failed to mention. Of course, Jaron mentioned Atlanta. It's in his poll. I'm watching it for Atlanta. They're playing Mount Vernon this week. Mount Vernon's another team that's should keep an eye on Mount Vernon. They're a team that's been down for a couple of years, but they've 2-1 so far, and they've had some impressive victories. So I'm kind of keeping my eye out on Mount Vernon too, for the poll. But all right, week 4 games. Y'all ready to pick some games? All right.
I haven't got my text or email. Hang on a second. Let me see if that text from Coach will come in time. But we'll see what I guess.
He didn't get his picks into you. Okay.
No, I guess I'll have to take it on my own.
Well, he didn't fare too well last week, so he had a 2-point or 2 game lead, and he dropped it. So
that's true.
Anyway, all right, we're gonna start game 1, the only Thursday game this week, and it is one of 2 teams that we just talked about as Elysian Fields 3-0 and Hawkins 3-0. Open up district. Now we've talked about this district and how we think Wascom we think is the best team. We thought Beckville was going to be number 2. Man, this district is going to be nuts. I could see, anybody from 2 through 7, 6, all just being right there. There's going to be some tiebreaker scenarios in this. I feel like now I might be completely wrong, but I just feel like that this district has got a lot of teams that we could say, hey, this team could make the playoffs or this team could make the playoffs. And I think it starts with this Thursday night game, Elysian Field and Hawkins. Huge game. I know it's just game 1, but you never know when this game could be for some kind of tiebreaker. All right, I'm going to start with you, Jaron, down here. Give me what you think. Elysian Fields and Hawkins. Who you like here?
Yeah, I mean, Nunu Kennedy is just really good. I mean, he's, again, one of the top athletes in our area, especially for small schools. So I've got EF win this win over Hawkins in a high-scoring game, a really high-scoring game.
Okay. KO?
You worried me when you said only game on Thursday because I was like, no, this whole district is played on Thursday. Only game on our pick'em on Thursday. Okay, that you freaked me out for a second because I'm in my head. I'm like, I'm going to be at a game Thursday, and I know we have other shooters at games Thursday. Okay, anyway, this is a tough one for me. It's district, by the way, right? Like this is the first game of district for 10-2A Division 1.
18 district, KO.
And you start off with what could potentially be a district championship, right? I mean, both teams are 3-0. I understand that, neither team has really played a tough opponent. I mean, if you look at it, I guess Elysian Fields has played the toughest in Queen City maybe, but, it's Queen City. So, no disrespect, Queen City. Sorry. But Elysian Fields, I think, I don't know, man. This one's a toss-up for me. Do I go with my radio bias and take Hawkins, or do I go with Jaron's Northeast Texas bias and take Elysian Fields? I'm undecided. I don't know. Jeremy, you go. I don't know. Jeremy, you go.
Well, not to sway you, but I'm also going to take Elysian Fields. I think they're, I know. Like I said, I think, and again, I think this could go either way. I think that the 2-point win by Hawkins makes me a little bit nervous to take them. And again, it's district, you never know. But I feel like you said, Elysian Fields has had some bigger spreads in their wins, and I don't know. I'm going to Elysian Fields, and I think it's going to be a shootout, big points.
Me too. Give me Elysian Fields. This is a complete toss-up for me. I mean,
yeah, it is. I think this is one of those games that definitely could go either way. I'm leaning towards Elysian Fields as well. I think, and I'm with Jeremy. The way they've won, like they're not winning by very few points. Like they're winning games and winning them impressively. And even if your schedule's not good, to me, if you can go out and you win the games you're supposed to and you win them convincingly, that tells me something. That means, we've said Winona is on the rise, but we saw them, beat Big Sandy really well, but then they took a loss the next week. So I don't know. I'm going to go with Elysian Fields just because I think where they are right now, they have a little more momentum going in the season. They're both 3-0. So, but I'm just going to take Elysian Fields just because I think they're the better team from what I've seen so far. All right. Game 2. 2 of our NETSN schools. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, well, all right. My AirPod went out. Hold on. But I was going to say they did play a common opponent. Both teams played mod, and Hawkins won by 7, and Elysian Fields won by 16. So if you want to go off a common opponent, Elysian Fields won by a score over Hawkins. How they
tried that common opponent last week, and it didn't work though. So you never know. But okay, so 2 NETSN schools battling it out in Price, Texas. We will have this game on NETSN. The Brook Hill God coming to town to take on Carlile. And, man, this one's going to be tough, man. I think this one's going to be an absolute battle. I just think that the size that Brook Hill has up front is going to be a problem for Carlile because they've got some big boys on that offensive line, and they like to hammer the ball at you. You've got a lot of weapons. And so I'm going to take Brook Hill on the road to get the win over Carlile, but I think this could be an absolute classic. Coach Hubbard and Coach Grubbs will be on the call for this one on NETSN. But I'm going to go with the guard. Jeremy, who you got?
I've got the Power going out at halftime. That's a lock.
Okay.
The
lock of the
I,
week?
hope, I really hope it doesn't. But no, I've got Brook Hill as well. I think the speed at running back for Brook Hill, and then I think also, just the speed in general. I think Brook Hill brings a lot of speed to the table, and I think that maybe the equalizer is the natural grass right of the field at Carlile a little bit, but I think Brook Hill's just got a few too many athletes, and I think it's going to be a good game. But I've got Brook Hill on the road taking the win on that one.
KO?
This is another tough one for me. I mean, I saw Carlile this past week, and they had some good moments there. I haven't seen Brook Hill, but I've heard y'all talk about Brook Hill. This is another, I feel like, a toss-up game. Like, I think it could go either way. If Friday night I see Carlile beat Brook Hill, I wouldn't be surprised. If Friday night I see Brook Hill beat Carlile, I wouldn't be surprised. I know that helps me none for making.
So what you're saying, Kyle, is the guy that's picking these games is doing a good job then.
He's doing all right. I won't tell him to his face, but he's doing all right. I don't know, dude. Give me Brook Hill.
Okay. Jaron?
Well, get the ice baths ready, particularly for the lines, because I'm telling you, because Brook Hill does have a gnarly big offensive line, but that defensive front for Carlile is nasty too. And man, this is a coin flip game for me, but I'm going to go with some recency bias, and I'm going to go with Carlile.
Oh, Coach Hubbard, I hope you're watching.
I'll hear it. Yeah.
He's gonna say, "Oh, there's that guy from that has kids that go to that other school."
Yeah. See, it's not even about that. It's not even about that. I think but seriously, I think it's gonna be a really good game. It's going to be a fun one. Probably one of the better games on our network this week. I think up front, seriously, is going to be. I mean, it's going to be a battle, some gnawing, some clawing. It's going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one's going to be good. Maybe I should pull some weight and switch my game to this one. Maybe, but it's going to be a great one on NETSN. So I'm glad that we have it, and hopefully everyone will tune in to check that one out if you're not there. All right, game 3, another good one. Mount Vernon versus Atlanta, and both teams coming in at 2-1. All right, Jaron, I'm gonna let you have this one first here. I have a feeling I know which way you're going, but these two teams are both north, so I'm sure you have a nice knowledge of them. So tell us a little bit about this one who you're going with.
So I'm going with Atlanta. Their only loss is against that really, I mean, just perennial power in PG, right? Like, and so it's hard to even say that. So, and while Mount Vernon, has had some good wins for sure, I still think they're kind of, they're still not rebuilding, but they're definitely back. I mean, it's just, I just think Atlanta is really fast. They're a super fast team. And again, they've played everybody well except that one, except PG, right? So
yeah, they're not too bad. PG's okay.
Yeah, so I'm going with Atlanta.
Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, I've got Atlanta as well. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think the home field advantage is going to swing it in the favor of Atlanta as well, and so I'm picking Atlanta.
KO.
I thought I had this figured out before I heard Jaron and Jeremy talk, and now I'm second guessing. I don't know, man. I understand that Mount Vernon, a win over New Diana in week 1. What is New Diana? Rusk, a win over them in week 2. Okay, a 1 possession loss to Pottsboro at home, I think is, if you want to call a win impressive, I think that's an impressive win. They battled to it came down to the final play in that one. They had a chance at the end to win that game. I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't know enough about Atlanta. Like I really don't. Like, I see their win over Hooks. I see a win over New Boston. We talked about the PG loss. I just don't know. So I'm going to dance with the devil I know, and I'm taking the Mount Vernon Tigers.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this one was tough. just from what I've seen recently, I don't know enough about how good Mount Vernon is right now, and I know Atlanta has been solid over the past several years. So on that note, I'm going to go with Atlanta, but would I be surprised if Mount Vernon gets a win? No, I wouldn't be. I think this game's
on this train by myself. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, you need some by yourself wins, KO.
I do. That's another thought process I was going in with this.
I know the feeling. I'll stay on it by myself most of the time.
Hey, but I really do. I think this is going to be a closer game than most people think. And Atlanta is at home. Jeremy did mention that. That's another factor involved. And so I'm going to go with Atlanta as well.
Mount Vernon's undefeated on the road this year. So there you go.
There you go. I like that. You got a stat for us. I like the stat to back up your pick, KO. There you go. Game 4, Mount Enterprise traveling to Shelbyville. And you looked at this, if you start the start of the season and you looked at this game and you just didn't know what the records were, you'd be like, oh, these two teams are probably having similar records, right? Shelbyville 0-3. Now, they have played some tough competition. I think the farther along in the season they go, I think that they'll continue to get better. Coach Wallace, he's a great coach down there at Shelbyville. He's going to have them, back rolling. But it's hard to go against Mount Enterprise when you've seen what they have, and they're just rolling this year. So I'm going with Mount Enterprise to get the win over Shelbyville. KO, who you got here?
I'm taking Mount Enterprise, but I'm a little concerned. I was just going back looking through their scores. They gave up 24, 27, and 30. Now, granted, they scored 32, 64, and 58. So those games, other than the Carlile game, it doesn't look close. But we know Shelbyville, at least in years past, has been able to put up some points. I know they put up 42 in a loss to New Boston, but that would be my only concern going into this is the defense for Mount Enterprise. Can they hold up against Shelbyville? I'm going to say they can, and I'm going to say Keegan Ash has a really good game, so I'm taking the Wildcats.
Okay. Jared?
Yeah, so I just think Mount Enterprise is a really good team this year. And Shelbyville, in preseason, I was still, I was thinking, hey, although they lost DJ Barnes, they're still brought a lot of guys back. But, man, they've just had a rough sled and rough go first few weeks. Now, they played a pretty tough schedule, right? But, obviously opened the season with Troop and stuff. So, but I'm going with Mount Enterprise. They've just had some really impressive wins.
All right, Jeremy?
Yeah, I've got Mount Enterprise as well. I after watching them, and like you said, against Carlile and Keegan Ash and his ability, and then again, it's like when he comes off the field, the guy right behind him is no slouch either. And so I think I think this is an 0-4 start for Shelbyville. I don't think it makes them a bad team. I think they played a tough schedule, but I don't think they pick up a win this week. So,
all right. Game 5, Lovelady and Garrison, two teams that are in our poll. Should be a great matchup. Lovelady at 3-0 and Garrison at 2-1. Jeremy, we're going to go to you first here. What are we thinking here?
Of all the ones, I knew you were going to do that. I was like, please don't go to me first, please. I needed the KO treatment here where I got to hear a couple of inputs. No, I'll go first, but I was hoping for some help here. Man, I think this is going to be a battle. I think it's going to probably come down to the last possession here. I'm going to take Garrison as the home team on a 3-point squeaker.
Ooh, okay. KO?
I disagree wholeheartedly with you, Jeremy. You were waiting for me to go first. I disagree wholeheartedly with you.
Well, then I feel much better about the pick then.
You should, as you should. I love Coach Alvarez over there in Garrison. I think he's a great guy. Coach Kirchhoff is a great coach down in Lovelady too. I think this Lovelady team is for real. I think they are a really, really good football team this year. Garrison seems down a little bit. I know they just blew out Anahuac, so that's a crazy statement to make. But, we look back now, Wascom hasn't been exactly impressive. So then a 20-point win over Wascom in week 1, what does that really look like? We saw what happened against ARP, which is a very good football team. I'm not sold on Garrison this year, and I think Lovelady has a really, really good squad. I think Lovelady wins this one, and I honestly don't think it's very close.
Okay. Jaron? It's split right now. What do you think? Oh.
Sorry. I'm not making the mute mistake again, so it just takes me a little bit.
Oh, you're good.
So hey, that Garrison loss to ARP in that fashion still just kind of worries me for them, right? So, and Lovelady's just cooking. So I got Lovelady.
Yeah, I've got Lovelady too. I think they're going to be a team to reckon with. I think it's a good game for them. Lovelady's down a classification. They're 2A Division 2, so they're a little smaller. So Garrison will have a little more depth. So I think it'll be a good test for Lovelady. But they just got through. I mean, they beat Timpson a few weeks ago pretty handily. So, and they're in that same district with Garrison. So I think that I think this is a big win for Lovelady, and they get it, and they move to 4-0.
But things get weird when you go south, though. I mean, things just get strange.
Well, they are south, aren't they?
That's what I'm saying. When you keep going south, I'm just saying when teams down there, weird things happen down there.
Okay.
So it's crazy down there. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if Garrison comes away with a win. But I've got Lovelady.
Okay. All right. Game 6. A game where Jeremy and I will be on Friday night. The Tatum Eagles and the West Rusk Raiders in a battle there in New London. All right, Jaron, our relative Tatum expert, can the Tatum Eagles roll over into town and get the win? What do you think?
So I've really made it a point this year to really try to pick with my mind, not my heart. But
that being said,
I'm pulling out my Eagle Green. No, Kyle, not that Eagle Green. But I'm pulling out the Eagle Green. I'm just going to go with the Tatum Eagles just because I can, and I want to see them do it. So they've had their number the last few years, and so I think it's going to be a good game. But I'm going with Tatum Eagles.
All right, KO. Is it Green Eagles?
This one's tough for me. This is another toss-up game, I think, in my opinion. I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if – like I saw Tatum, but the time I saw Tatum was week 1 against Winsboro. Is that really a good comparison? Like that Tatum team is not the same Tatum team in week 1 that they are now going into week 4. West Rusk, that's an impressive win over Gladewater, but it sounds also like Gladewater kind of shot themselves in the foot too. Not to take anything away from the win for West Rusk, but I just don't know, man. Why you got to do this to me, Brett?
I'm making it tough. I love it.
I'm gonna take.
I've got Mr. Red Zone OTs.
The Tatum Eagles.
Oh, he's going with the Eagles. Okay. All right.
Real quick, one thing you do have me worried about, Brett, is that you're saying how West Rusk was just really good up front and really controlled the run game for against Gladewater. I mean, that is Tatum's bread and butter, right? Like with the flex bone, that's what they do. Now they do it in a very unique way, so we'll see if that changes things.
Well, I will say that when they were struggling, when they kind of just straight handed off, and Jeremy probably agree with me, when they went to the pitch, when Achilles Hess was able to pitch and do that kind of thing, it did give West Rusk a little bit of a problem. They just don't do that as much as Tatum. So I think if they're on their game, running the wishbone, triple bone, whatever they call it, whatever you call
flex
it.
bone, baby, flex bone, dude. Come on, get it right.
It's one of those
bite out of that flex bone, baby.
Give a dog a bone. I think that could give them trouble. I think because they do that all the time, and when Gladewater was kind of doing the pitch or the quarterback would fake it a few times and keep it, it was giving them problems. So I think if they can run that with consistency, not turn the ball over, I think it could be a Tatum win. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, so we've seen both of these teams play. I think what was interesting is that really West Rusk, it runs a 3-man front. Typically, they adjusted playing Gladewater to more of a 4-man front. They walked up an outside linebacker and really put him kind of in a 2-point to 3-point stance. You're right, they did. They were, but I think they were so focused because Gladewater's been so deadly up the middle that I think they were first half 100% focused on they were not going to let any runs up the middle. And I think that allowed Achilles Hess to get some pulls on that kind of triple option look. And then I think Achilles did a really good job of faking the pitch to the outside of times and was able to gash him. It'll just be interesting to see what their focus is this week because I would imagine they're going to worry more about the pull option than they are the dive when it comes to Tatum. I could be wrong, but I would assume that would be the adjustment. And Tatum didn't throw the ball particularly well, where I think Gladewater had a threat of it with a couple of their receivers were pretty decent. And so I think that may make an adjustment for them as well. And so I'm going to go with Wes Rusk. Again, teams that we both know lots of players on from calling baseball games. A lot of those guys from Wes Rusk played baseball. Same thing with Tatum. And so a lot of familiar names, but Cam Brown is a problem on the outside. Cam Brown went one-on-one several times for jump balls with Gladewater's number one athlete, and Cam came away multiple times with a win. And so I think that's going to be the difference. And I'm going to go with Wes Rusk.
I've gone back and forth, and I still haven't decided which way I want to go here, and hearing everyone's, thoughts. I've seen both teams as well. I saw Wes Rusk play really well against Gladewater, and were able to force turnovers and do the things they needed to do to win. But Gladewater also kind of, made some mental mistakes and gave them a chance to be in that game. And then Tatum, I saw them against Dangerfield, which Dangerfield, as we all know, they're just struggling this year, and so it's hard to judge, how Tatum is going to look. They just took an L. I know it was to Newton last week, and so it's really tough. I think this game goes two ways. Tatum has one path to win, and they have to stay ahead of the sticks, and they need to keep the ball and pound it. They'll have trouble if Wes Rusk can get in the backfield and cause them to have to change their game plan. That's the only thing that worries me about a team like Tatum. Like, if they get ahead, them and Joaquin are similar. If they get ahead on you, then it's trouble, because they can keep the ball in ball possession. But if they aren't ahead, then it's going to be very difficult. And this game is in West Rusk. I really think that Tatum has had their number, but West Rusk, there's just something about that West Rusk team. I don't know what it is, but I feel like that they're on a mission. And so I'm gonna go with West Rusk here. I think it could go either way, but it is at home. It'll be a familiar place for them. And Tatum is still growing. I think Tatum, their goal is not here. Their goal is to get in that playoff spot. And we know how tough their district is. I don't know if they're there yet. I just think I see more paths for West Rusk to win this game than I do Tatum. And not to say that Tatum can. If they get up and they are able to control the clock, they could win by 40. And I'd tell you, well, that's what happened. But if they don't, and West Rusk gets ahead and they have to change their game plan, I could see West Rusk taking it. So I'm going to go with West Rusk here. But honestly, I'm with KO. This is another one. I made it tough on myself here. Like, this could go either way. I think it's going to be an excellent ball game, and if you don't get a chance to come check this out in person, we will have it on NETSN. It should be a lot of fun down there in West Rusk. All right, Game 7, another interesting one. You've got Jefferson at 2-1 against a Pittsburgh team at 3-0, who's got off to a good start here. Pittsburgh is a bigger school, so you've got the size discrepancy going 3A to 4A. But it's just hard to pick against Jefferson right now. I don't know how good Pittsburgh is. I'm pretty sure I know how good Jefferson is right now. So I'm going to go with Jefferson to get the win on the road. But this is a game for Pittsburgh. If you're a Pittsburgh fan or a player, this is a statement game for you. If you go out and get a win over a Jefferson program, there's going to be some eyes and some heads turned and say, all right, Pittsburgh's for real. This is a win for them that would do that. KO, what are you thinking here?
Another tough one. Like, this is another tough one to pick. I don't know if Pittsburgh is for real. I don't. Like, you go back and you look at their wins. They beat Liberty Yalo, who's 0-3. Granted, played 3 tough teams, but they're 0-3. Like, then they played DeKalb and blew them out, and then beat Grace, which I think that's a good win over Grace. I do. A 45-0 win over Grace, I think, is impressive if you're Pittsburgh. But then it's Jefferson, whose one loss is to a Newton team that they had to go on the road and lost by a possession. Like, I don't know. So because what I do know is that the Bayou Bullies have a good football team. That's what I know for sure. So because of that, I'm going to go with what I know. and I'm going to take Jefferson. But if Pittsburgh wins, I will be happy because I like to see these programs kind of turn around, and Pittsburgh is on that ascent of the turnaround. So if Pittsburgh wins, I'll still be a happy camper. I'll gladly take the L if Pittsburgh gets this one, but I'm taking Jefferson.
Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think the same things that KO said. Like I don't know enough about Pittsburgh. I haven't watched them play. I've seen what they've done score wise, but I just don't know. And again, Jefferson's perennially has been a good team, and they play tough. They play hard nosed, and so I'm going to take Jefferson as well on the road.
Jaron.
So, in looking at Pittsburgh's schedule, the win that really perks my eyes the most, I think, is that 38-8 win over DCAB. Because I still think DCAB's a really good team, right? Like, and that, I mean, that's a 30-point win, right? So that's a big win. Hold up.
If I may, Jefferson just beat that same team 35-0. So if you want to compare. Yeah.
So, I mean,
I was going to say the same thing. I was like, well, not so fast.
Well, no, but listen, I'm just saying that makes me think, because you look at the quality of wins of Pittsburgh, it's like, okay, like how good are they? Like, so, and you asked the question, KO, you said, like, are they for real? Well, I mean, they beat a good team, a pretty good team that we think by 30 points. But I'm again, as I said earlier in the show, big Ty Taylor fan. I still think Jefferson's another level. I'm gonna have them higher than anybody else in this room in my small school poll. So I've got Jefferson.
Wow, throwing shade. Okay,
I'm just saying.
All right, I like it. Jaron's getting a little feisty. I like it. There we go. All right, game 8.
I think I did say in our preseason one that I predicted a Jefferson Westwood state championship. So I'm high on Jefferson as well.
You did.
Don't let's not forget. I'm a big Bayou Bully fan.
Yeah.
Kyle just making sure he was heard there. All right, game 8. Lindale and Gilmer. I think this one could be ugly again. I'm sorry, Gilmer fans, but you gotta come out and make a statement this week. If you don't, you take another loss, you go 1-3. I mean, there's going to be some upset fans. There's going to be some, I don't know. Gilmer's just not used to losing. But after what Lindale did to Van this week, I think unless they overlook it, that'd be the only thing is if they're looking ahead at them Bulldogs in 2 weeks. Kyle doesn't think that'll happen, but they're kids. They know what's coming. So as long as they keep focus, I think Lindale takes care of business and beats probably a ticked off Gilmer. I could see Gilmer getting out to a good start, just coming out being angry after taking that loss to Kilgore last week. But I'm still going to go with Lindale. I think they're a better team this year. I think I'm looking to the next week myself for a big opening round district matchup. So I think Lindale gets the win. Kyle?
I told you my concern that Gilmer's going to come out very angry. I don't think Lindale's going to overlook them. By the way, Lindale's locker room, they have the Gladiators, how they do the thumbs down thing. Mm-hmm. They have a Gladiator poster right above the door as they walk out with a thumbs down like that, and they all slap it as they come out, which I think is really cool.
That's cool.
They're not playing at home this week, so they won't get to do unless they take it on the road. I'm not sure. But I'm taking Lindale, obviously. As a Lindale alum, I'm not picking against my Eagles. But I would be concerned. Gilmer's not going to get blown out again, right? I don't think so. Like in Coach Metzel, since Coach Metzel has been there, they haven't been blown out like that.
Can I give you a stat? Okay, so the last, 6.5 quarters, okay, they have scored, what's that, 7 plus 6, 13 points, and they've allowed 41, almost 100 points in the last 6.5 quarters.
That's not good. Now here's my question though. Without watching the game, was there injuries that accounted for this was Gilmer playing backups that maybe don't see the field that much. And that's what, led to that. I know maybe not in the Chapel Hill thing, for instance, but like against Kilgore last week, how did it get to 66-6? Like, that is my biggest question. How did that happen? And so
Kilgore scored a lot of points, Cam.
Right. Yeah, well, that's true. I can't see Gilmer getting blown out again. So I don't think it's going to be, like you said, it could get ugly. I don't think it's going to get ugly, but I do think Lindale wins probably by a couple of touchdowns, but I don't think it's going to get out. I think it's going to look similar to the Chapel Hill game. That kind of score, not a Kilgore type score.
Okay.
I think that's an anomaly.
Okay. Jaron?
All right. Y'all are going to make fun of me and y'all are going to say I'm weird and try to, pick apart my logic and all this.
I'll say he's getting off the screen so he can't.
So, okay.
You're really thinking hard on this, Jaron. So you really must be coming out of right field because you're.
This man's picking Gilmer. This man's picking Gilmer.
So, I still think Lindale has a good shot at getting number 2 in that district. I'm not saying it's Chapel Hill's spot right now. I still think Lindale has a good chance of getting that district.
Jaron said
we've already proved it. So look at my polls, okay? But I think Gilmer's going to be ticked off, and it's at home, and I think, I say I'm picking Gilmer. I'm picking Gilmer, and say they win. It's a tight game. Lindale, I think, will come back ticked off, and then you roll in the district well, right? Like after that. But Gilmer's just too good of a history, too good of a storied program to not respond to that shellacking they got last week. And too, when we look at our pick'em contest, you've got to make a crazy play every now and then to try to separate yourself, right? And just throw the Hail Mary up. So this is kind of
you tried that last year, Jaron. It didn't work out too well.
Yeah, well, So I'm throwing it up and just seeing if it lands. And so
it'll land somewhere. Just not sure where it's going to land.
Yeah. So I'm picking Gilmer.
Jeremy, where's your pick landing?
Okay, so this is not the one to take a flyer on. This is not it. Okay, I just want to rewind about an hour ago. I said 2 alarm fire, right? I said 2 alarm fire here if you're a Gilmer Buckeye. I think after this game it goes to a 3 alarm fire. I don't think this one's very close. I think it's 21-point spread. Lindale Eagles are going to fly and they're going to soar. And I think that Jaron's pick is going to land in a pile of, anyway, it's not going to go well. We'll go there. We'll stay safe here, but
there we go. All right.
Jaron knows that I love him, but
the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
And you can critique my pick earlier. I had one that I was the only one that picked it, but I think mine has a better shot than this one. So, this is not the one.
I'm with you, Jaron. Like I get where you're coming from. Like because I just said it. Like Gilmer can't be blown out twice, and I think Coach Metzel's going to have them ready to play. But to that point, Lindale is not a slouch, right?
No,
they're not. And by your logic that you said, if they are competitive to possibly be the second best team in that district,
and Chapel Hill beat
we
Gilmer.
just saw what Chapel Hill did to that team, right?
I know.
So I'm with you. Like I can go with you a little bit, but I'm also with Jeremy here. I don't think this is the one you take a flyer on, brother. I don't.
And the only reason, because you're right, on paper it's no question, right? Like on paper, no question, right? Again, you look at, and you said Coach Metzel's history and what they've done. I mean, they live around the big boys, right? I mean, that's what they do. They are one of the big boys, and so you respond differently. And
it just feels different, right? Like it just feels different. Like I'm with you because I think Coach Metzel will have them turned around, and I can't fathom a world where Gilmer struggles like that. If to get beat again in a convincing fashion. Like, I can't imagine that. But I've also grown up in a time where all I've known is Gilmer being good. Like, that is, I've never seen Gilmer have a down year. Their down year is 7 or 8 wins. Like, I've never seen it worse than that. So I just can't see it. But I also just saw Lindale score at will against Van. And if Gilmer's giving up 66 to Kilgore and 48 or 46 or 40 to 41 to Chapel Hill, I think Lindale's going to put up some points, and Gilmer hasn't shown that they can put up points yet. So it's tough, man. But I'm with you. I follow your logic here. I can't go with you completely.
That's fine. I'm used to being by myself a lot, so I said that earlier.
All right. We got the next one up. We've got game.
I would also remind you to look at the leaderboard for the pick'ems though and see kind of where we're at. So
Wow. He was backing you, Jerry, and then you threw.
Well, I really wasn't saying that to KO. I'm saying So I guess I am kind of saying to KO, but
yeah, because he's the only one that's down in the bottom of the pick'ems. You had to be throwing.
All right, we don't need to bring it up. All right, Jared, we don't need to bring it up. All right, we can just move forward. Next game on the list you were talking about, Brett.
Kyle, if he keeps throwing Hail Marys, you probably catch him pretty soon.
You probably will.
I take back everything I said. Pick Gilmer, Jared, please.
You probably will.
Kyle's over here catching strays after he supported some of Jared's logic. How does that work? It's like moving somebody down the pole when they win.
I'm really just saying to make myself feel better, because y'all really had me doubting. So I'm like, well, I'm really not that bad at this.
I tried to prop you up and you shot me down.
I'm sorry.
Last time I'll do that in this group, I can guarantee you that.
Oh, man. He done burned bridges. And
I know. I'm just,
All right, game 9. The Battle of the Bulldogs. Chapel Hill takes their shot at Carthage in Carthage. Our Carthage insiders got to go first. All right, Jaron. Battle of the Bulldogs. Top 3 matchup in our poll. What are you thinking here?
Carthage. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, no thought. Okay, Jeremy?
I think it's going to be a good game. But I just think Carthage is Carthage, and they're going to do Carthage things, and they're really good. I think it's going to be a really good game, probably the best game of the week. But I just think Carthage is going to do what Carthage does.
Jeremy?
I think it's going to be a great game. Carthage at home, I think, gives them some leverage. Again, they're a tough team. We know that. These are the top. When you go big school, these are my top 2 teams, right? So this is an exciting matchup. Again, I think it's going to be one of the best, if not the best, games. I'm going to give Carthage. I think they win by somewhere in that 3 to 7 range. It's going to be close. I think it's going to come down late, but I think that Carthage is going to just rely on the standard of all. Coach Surratt's going to take his hands and flash the rings at some point late in the game, and something magical will happen. So,
all right, KO.
Well, this is where I will be Friday night. It is our Red Zone game of the week, obviously. But I'm hoping you're right, Jeremy. I'm hoping you're right when you say it's going to be probably one of the best games of the weekend.
I said that too, by the way. Yeah.
I'm not listening to you, Jaron. You're dead to me right now. Anyway, Jeremy and Brett, I do think it's going to be a good game. I'm interested to see how Chapel Hill looks against Carthage, because we saw how Kilgore did against Carthage in week 1. It was a 21-10 loss. I'm interested to see if Chapel Hill do they beat Carthage, or does it look similar to how Kilgore looked? Because we think Kilgore and Chapel Hill are very similar and evenly matched. So I'm curious to see how that'll look. Chapel Hill is going to have to play a perfect game. And it's not just Chapel Hill. Anybody that plays Carthage has to play a perfect game, and you still might lose because they still might pull something out and figure it out. So they're going to have to play a perfect game. The defense is going to have to be on point. Jet Surratt has so many weapons. They're going to have to contain KJ Edwards and Benny Hill. They're going to have to contain them to – is Benny still there? He may not be there anymore. Anyway, KJ. Yeah. Oh, okay. KJ and Benny in the backfield. Benny the Bull still there. They're going to have to – sorry, you're non-existent. But they're still there in the backfield. So Chapel Hill's defense is going to get tested this week more than they've been tested all year long. But I think that Chapel Hill this year defensively is better prepared for the battle than they have been in years past. So if they can get to the quarterback, Kilgore did this last year against Carthage. If you can disrupt Jet and get him off his mark and make him move around where he can't just sit there and pick you apart, he becomes more average than he is, right? Like, he is an excellent quarterback, but if you can get him to move around and put pressure on him, it lowers that and it makes the game a little easier for you defensively. So they're going to need to get pressure on Jet, going to need to figure out a way to contain KJ and Benny in the backfield. A lot easier said than done. I'm glad I'm not Coach McFarland this week, having to try and figure all that out. But Carthage, you can't get too big for your britches either. And I don't think they will. Coach Surratt won't let them do that, but you can't just go in there and play lackadaisical and expect to win this game. Chapel Hill is a really good football team that if you let up against, they will tear you apart. So I think Carthage wins, but I do think it's going to be a good game.
Well, and Brett, and you saw Chapel Hill this last week. If Carthage has a spot where you could get them, and it's to your point, KO, is the offensive line, just because you got some new guys there on the offensive line. Now, I say that, and they played that Kilgore defensive front really well, right? But I think if Chapel Hill is going to win, it's because their defensive front is bullying the offensive line of Carthage. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen, but I'm saying if they are going to win, that's where it's going to be, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious where I'm going, Phyllis. I'm not picking against my Bulldogs of Chapel Hill after they just beat White House. I mean, here's the deal. I just saw them. They're more two-dimensional than they've been in a long time. Carthage is not going to be at 100%. They're going to be missing a key piece. I know this from factual information. It's a very important key piece. And so I think that's going to be an adjustment for Carthage. So anyway, I think Chapel Hill is going to disrupt. They've got some big dudes on the D-line that can really disrupt. And so I think Chapel Hill goes in and gets the win. I think it's going to be a great game. I do. I just think that at Chapel Hill, the only caveat, they did a lot of like silly penalties and stuff last week. They've got to clean that up. You can't be giving away yards against a good Carthage team. And so I honestly think, as a neutral person, I think it's going to be a great game. Will Carthage win? They could, but I think Chapel Hill has a great chance to go into Carthage and get a win this year. I think, again, they're a different team this year than they were last year. They've got more weapons. They can spread the ball around, and they've got so many guys that can do it. You can't just key on one or two guys right now. They have multiple guys that they can get the ball to in open space and make you, I guess, get in a track meet. And Carthage has great athletes as well. But so I just think it's going to be just an incredible game. But I'm going to pick my Bulldogs to get the win.
All right, I got to do my job. You dropped a huge tease and then just left it without telling us anything.
Jaron probably knows. I just don't know if is it knowledge that we can share.
Okay, well, just chat it to me then.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know about it. I'll let you know about it. I was informed at the game the other night. So
you can't do that, Brett. You can't do that. You can't drop a big bomb like that right here and then go, nope, just kidding. Not gonna tell you.
Well, I don't know if it's mine. I just said that's an important piece of why Chapel Hill can get the win. I think it'll make a difference. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a great one. I think I'm jealous that you're gonna be there, KO. We're gonna be at some great ones too, but that's gonna be hopefully be a little bit better than your games of the week. You've had some uneven ones.
Last week was the best.
It was, but the week before,
we're going to carry that momentum.
Came in and just destroyed Garrison,
and Longview destroyed Lufkin. I get it, but listen, we're carrying momentum.
Okay,
we're building off this. And if you know what, I know you can't be there, but you can get a great pregame report during the 6:00 news on Friday. You can get highlights of that game.
Is that you live? You were live the other night.
I'm live every Friday night during the.
Is that new this year now?
Yeah. Get a little more TV time.
All right.
On the actual TV, not just the web. And then you can watch Red Zone for the highlights of the game with the post game reaction from the winning coach. And then after that, you can go to Red Zone Overtime right there and watch me break down the whole game from Carthage's stadium. So
okay,
full night of action.
All right. Hopefully I'm able to tune in. Hopefully I want to tune in. I may not want to tune in. So if I don't tune in, no offense, Kale. It's not because of you.
It's not me. I get it.
All right. And if you didn't think that was a good one, we had in our polls, just going back, we had Chapel Hill and Carthage in the top 5. I believe this is another top 5 matchup. We have Kilgore and Pleasant Grove. Man, Kilgore, after what they just did, I just can't go against them right now, man. Kilgore, there may be only one game the rest of the year I pick against Kilgore, and there's a certain reason why. I think they're going to win. I think they make a statement against a really good Pleasant Grove team, and I think this kind of gives us an idea of how that district is. We've got some common opponents and things. I'm interested to see kind of compare. We've got Lindale playing Van. We've got Kilgore playing Pleasant Grove. We've got, all these teams kind of playing each other. It'll give us a little bit better of an idea kind of where maybe those teams are going to fall. I mean, they don't always pan out that way, but it'll give us a little measuring stick. But I'm taking the Kilgore Bulldogs to travel up there and get the win. All right, Jeremy, what are you thinking?
Yeah, this is a tough one too. I think, again, I think I've seen more footage of Kilgore, and again, that win last week was just impressive, right? And again, we don't know for sure where Gilmer stands fully, but 66-6 on anybody who's got a perennial statement that these guys have had is huge. And so I'm going to go with Kilgore over Pleasant Grove.
Okay, all right, Jaron.
Yes.
Okay, Northeast Texas bias. Are you feeling it here?
No, I'm not. Just again, and a lot of it's that win over a lot of it's that win over Gilmer. I mean, I like PG a lot. I think PG is really good. They played Paris pretty close, a few weeks ago. Beat Atlanta handily, but Kilgore's just impressive. I'm gonna go with Kilgore. All
right, what are you thinking?
Oh man, I think this is gonna be another good game. Game of the year candidate, probably could be. Listen, after everything I said about Kilgore earlier, there's no way I'm picking against Kilgore now. Like I'm not I'm not picking against Kilgore. Sorry, it was the chat. It was the chat, guys. I'm not picking against Kilgore. I don't care who they're playing. I was looking at Pleasant Grove's schedule, and the 24-7 win over Paris kind of caught my eye. But then I remembered they lost 7-0 to Paris last year. So maybe Paris and PG is just a tough game. Maybe that's just a scrappy affair. So I'm taking Kilgore, and I said it earlier in a chat with somebody else. I said Kilgore by 50. I was joking. Kilgore's not going to win by 50. I don't think. They might. Who knows? But I'm definitely taking Kilgore to win.
All right. Well, that's our pick'em games for the week. It's going to go through and talk about ones we're doing, and then we can mention some other ones that we see. I know Jeremy and I were going to be traveling to Kaufman for a neutral site game between Gainesville and Henderson. We're getting our first look at the Henderson lines this season. I'm excited to see what Coach Meeks has got in that group this year. Jeremy, what are you looking forward to there, that trip to getting to see Henderson?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it. I mean, I think I put Henderson in my poll this week, and I'm excited to see them in person. And again, I don't know a lot about Gainesville. I drive. I think the big thing for me is we drive through there a lot when we go to see family, and so we see the big G on the high school out there, and that's about the extent of it, right? And I may or may not have gotten a tattoo at the age of 18 in college in the city of Gainesville because I was an Oklahoma student. And in Oklahoma, you couldn't do that; it was illegal, and so Gainesville was the closest place. So that's the two things I have, and it didn't turn out well. And so I'm gonna hope that I think Henderson. I know it's not even. I don't even know, but anyway, I'm gonna go with Henderson. I think Henderson gets the win by virtue of those two facts.
Jaron, you got Overton and Maud on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna be traveling up to Maud. We got some long road trips on Thursday.
Yeah, and you got me another one on Friday. I'm putting in the miles this week, but I got Overton at Maud. really, saw Overton last week against Sims Bowie and had a really good game. Still, I think Overton's better than what they've been playing, and I think their offense is going to continue to gel. But their margin for error disappears once they get to district, right? So hopefully this will be one more good final pre-district test for them.
And then I think also, Keith will be over in Big Sandy for Ore City, Big Sandy. Big Sandy struggled in the preseason, and we had high hopes for them and Coach Pullum and their group. But the good news is they start over 0-0, so they got a chance to right the ship here and get started. And I think in an important game against an Ore City team that's, they've struggled over the past few years, and I think this would be a big win for Big Sandy to get started. Again, I think this district is kind of open. I think right now you could give me 4 teams and I could say, okay, I could see that. I think Wascom's a playoff team. I'm not sure if we know how good they are yet, just because of maybe we've seen them struggle a little bit early as far as not just blowing the doors off everybody like we thought. So, and then of course Beckville the same way. So I think this district is going to be open, and we'll see. I think it's going to be one of those we come down to the last week like we talked about, and it could be anybody's game. So that'll be an important game in district. And those are the 3 that we're going to have on Thursday. Kyle, tell us about, we talked a little bit about Hawkins Legion Fields. I mean, we think that one's also another big one. And we did that in our pick'ems a little bit ago. But I mean, this game, do you see it coming down to I can see it coming down to whoever has the ball last and who doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be extremely good. I mean, like I said earlier, it's a toss-up on who I think is going to win, and it was a toss-up on who to put in the poll. I ended up putting Hawkins in, but I mean, if Elysian Fields goes out here and wins Thursday night, then Elysian Fields is probably going to be in the poll next week for me. So I think it's really going to be a really good game. It's interesting to see who's pretending and who's just contending, right? Because both of them are 3-0, but district starts now. This is when it matters. This is when the road to the playoffs begins. So I'm interested to see both these teams come out and compete Thursday. I think it's going to be a good one.
It's interesting that they're starting their district on a Thursday like that, and all the teams are playing. That's kind of an interesting deal. Yeah, because then you got Harleton and Beckville also opening up district play there too. Beckville's a team that kind of we scratch our heads at sitting there at 1-2, but they could run off 4 or 5 wins and end up competing for a district championship, and we forget all about how they started. So I think Coach Ross has done a great job there at Beckville, and I think it wouldn't surprise me if they, with the athletes they have, and especially with having Jordan Prince on your team, he's not too bad a player there to have on your team, and so I wouldn't be surprised there if they are able to make a little run through district. All right, so let's look at.
I think too with starting with Harleton, right? That we've seen them, a little bit in the preseason, and I think it's a good win for Beckville to kind of start the season off and kind of get that train rolling in the right direction. So even though they started 1-2, I think that's a good way to start 1-0 in district. If what we've seen is what we're going to see from Harleton, I don't know that they have the kids to compete, especially with a team like Beckville. So.
Another game that's interesting on Friday night, Pine Tree and Hallsville, kind of an interesting matchup. Pine Tree has struggled a little bit. They're 1-2, Hallsville 0-3. They're 2 teams that, have aspirations to make the playoffs in their district. What do you think about this matchup, Kyle? I mean, it's going to be a battle between 2 teams that are pretty close. I mean, they're not separate. Their district lines might even meet at some point over there. They're really close. I think it's an important springboard in the district schedule for them. What do you think about this matchup?
I haven't been real impressed with Hallsville early on, truthfully, and Pine Tree got a big win over Dallas Carter last Friday night. I think, they had a rough first couple of games, but again, two pretty tough opponents they had to play in Gilmer.
Was that Swaggy's Dallas Carter Cowboys? Ooh, sorry, Swaggy.
It was, yeah. Swaggy's Carter Cowboys have lost twice to East Texas teams over here, so they may not come back east for a while unless they're playing basketball. Yeah. But then they may get us. But I think I just have a belief in Pine Tree. I just think Pine Tree is going to be the better team. So I think I think it will be a good game. And you're right. It's kind of a rivalry. They're both real close right there. So I think it'll be a close game, but I just think Pine Tree's I have belief in Pine Tree.
Dangerfield and Center is a game that'll be on NETSN. The Center guys will be covering that. And Center coming off a loss, went across the border to Louisiana. They're undefeated in Texas this year. Dangerfield has struggled. I'll be interested to see. Dangerfield, they started 0-4 last year and ended up doing pretty well. So they're on the same pace here. We'll see if they can bounce back against a Center team with a new coach. Coach Brown's doing a pretty good job there. But, anytime you have a new coach come in, there's always that adjustment period. So it'll be interesting to see how they do moving forward in district play. Kyle, is there any other games on Friday that you see that stick out to you that's not in our pick'em games you're like want to keep an eye on?
One I was just looking at, Spring Hill and Gladewater. That's kind of an interesting one to me. I think, Spring Hill is coming off a win this past weekend, and then Gladewater coming off that loss to West Rusk. It's going to be interesting to see how Gladewater can bounce back in that one. Just kind of looking through some other ones. Winona at Alto, I didn't think would be interesting at the start of the year, but now it kind of is. Just to see the progression that Winona is doing and seeing how far they're coming. Grand Saline at Joaquin. That's a really good game that we didn't have in the pick'ems. That I know there's a lot of games that couldn't make it in, but Grand Saline traveling down to Joaquin, I think, is going to be an extremely good ball game. That game may be on. I've heard it's on Thursday, but I have it as Friday, but I've also heard it's on Thursday, so I have no idea.
You never know; these games all bounce around and switch days.
There's so much moving. And so I don't know when that game is, but whenever it is, I think it'll be a good one. But I think we covered most of the other ones that I'm seeing. Just kind of looking through the ones that kind of catch my eyes are those that we've kind of already mentioned.
Mount Pleasant at 0-3 surprised me a little bit. They have high hopes to try to get the playoff spot there in that district. They're playing Sulphur Springs, which is a team that we have ranked in our top 15. That's a step up for Sulphur Springs. So that'll be interesting to see how they compete against a Mount Pleasant team that's struggled early. Mount Pleasant in the district with Texas High, Marshall, and White House and Hallsville. So that'll be interesting to see.
So according to Joaquin's 2025 football schedule, it is Thursday at 7:30 at home against Grand Saline.
Okay.
So another banger on a Thursday night. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and let me make sure we get all those. Of course, we talked about the three on Thursday. We have Gainesville, Henderson, Overton, Maude, or City Big Sandy. Our Friday slate, the mentioned Brookhill and Carlile. We have that game. That's going to be a really good one. We have Redwater versus New Diana on Friday night. Of course, Dangerfield and Center we mentioned. And we mentioned Tatum, West Rusk. White House traveling to Paris.
That's a big one. That was going to be one of the ones I said just for White House to get some momentum going into district. I think this is going to be big.
Yeah. And then, of course, we mentioned Palestine and Marshall. I think Jaron will be traveling to Marshall for that one. I'm interested to see what he thinks of the Marshall Mavericks, how they look. We haven't gotten to see them yet this year. And so in that district with White House, they've looked good a few times this year. And so I'm interested to see Palestine. That's a tough matchup for them. I mean, they're playing a tough slate. I mean, you got to be thinking if you're Coach Ray, you just want to see some positive things, some improvements. Go out and compete and try to do your best in that one. And then we have Mount Enterprise and Shelbyville also. I believe that will be Larry's game on Friday. So that'll be an interesting matchup. Jeremy, is there anything you saw that we didn't see?
I think we kind of mentioned it early, but man, Tyler High Lufkin's going to be a big one. That's going to be a big game. Tyler High's coming in at 1-2, could easily be 2-1. They lost by 1 to Marshall, and then Lufkin only lost to Longview. And then another one I saw was Union Grove 3-0 with Wascom 2-1. That'll be another good one where you got two teams that are going to be competitive this year. And
that's in that district as well. That's in that same district. So that district is going to be so interesting. We're going to be talking about it a lot, especially with us covering Big Sandy all year. Just how it shakes out. I'm interested to see how it does. But a lot of good games. And Kale, I think that Joaquin Grand Saline was one of the games I was kind of looking at. There was about 11 or 12 that I had. It's just so hard when you're in bEast, Texas, Kyle, to pick 10 games. I mean, there's just so many good ones.
Well, I'm surprised we haven't had a Mildred game on the Pick'ems yet. since they're one of our top 15s.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure
who is voting for them.
Okay, do we want to call them out? Kyle, is that what you're asking?
Because I get the Texarkana stuff, and I get even Lone Oak maybe being included in there, but Corsicana.
Oh, you're gonna call out one of our boys?
It's Coach Hubbard. I know is one of them.
No, it's not Hubbard.
Oh, I thought he did it first.
No, Brandon Ogden has them ranked number 7.
That's not even. You know why he did it though? I bet he did it because Jeremy was talking to, not you, Jeremy. Coach Hubbard was talking about it that one day in the chat, and I think Brandon just included him. That's Conrad, not East Texas. Hey, not even close.
Conrad has them ranked 4th. So those are the 2 that voted for them.
Why?
I don't know.
Why don't we just throw Ennis in too?
I mean, Corsicana, we can add them into the poll.
Hey, we could have a whole show on what is an East Texas team.
But that's not even close.
We need an official voting map. We need here's the line.
This
isn't,
we have to draw a NETSN map and then make an official map.
Maybe put it on the website so people know who to actually vote for. And
all right. So Jaron had the jet. He's got those kiddos he had to take care of. But anybody have any thoughts? Kyle, you have any thoughts? Jaron's not here. You can tell him. You can say whatever you want now.
Who?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Who? Oh, yeah.
I have nothing. I think it's going to be another fun week of football, though. We had an exciting week last week. I think it's going to be another great week with districts starting up this week for some teams, and then once they start, then it's kind of like a floodgate opens up. We'll have district opening up next couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to this week of football and the weeks coming up for sure.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've gotten to do 6 games so far, 2 more this week. So I mean, just it's been a lot of fun. And again, you and I have kind of done, I guess we've seen Gladewater twice, but really we haven't seen anybody more than once, and that's kind of been fun. It just changes things up a little bit. And so I'm excited to see what this week shakes out and kind of how it moves our polls again. And then what teams are kind of revving up for district and get themselves in a good spot, and what teams have work to do.
Yeah, I think you guys are on the money. I mean, we're through 3 weeks. It's been crazy. I think we've seen some teams that we expected to do well. Some teams that we expected to do well haven't done so well. And some teams that have come out of nowhere. You've got the Elysian Field, you've got Pittsburgh, you've got some of those teams that they're sitting at 3-0 right there, and you're like, okay, and then so it's getting to that point of the year where they're going to start playing some opponents that we're going to be able to tell, are they improved that much, or maybe they're just a little bit improved, but when they get to the big boys, they still can't compete. So I'm interested to see. I'm hoping some of these teams, I like KO. I'm hoping some of these teams, I like to see teams that have had struggles do well. Because I just want, it's tough when you have a program that you just can't seem to turn it around. And so I'm excited to see some of these teams do well this season. But I guess that's about going to do it. Anybody have any final thoughts before we close out? All right. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Wrong button.
We got to have a little fun sometimes. That Jaron guy, he just gets all worked up. And so you have a little laugh every once in a while. Kyle was the entertainment tonight, though.
Some Freudian slips out here with big balls.
On that note,
if you were a middle school teacher or a freshman high school teacher, you would never say something like that, because it always spends 15 minutes trying to get everybody back in.
Oh man, and on that note, that's going to wrap up the episode for this week. Beast from the East. For our missing man in action, Jaron Peoples. For Jeremy Diamond, Mr. Reds and OT, KO Kyle Owens, I'm Mr. NETSN, Brett Swinney, signing off for this evening. Good luck in your pick'ems. Good luck with your teams this week. We'll catch you next week right here on NETSN. Good night, everybody.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at NETSN.